HomelandSecurityUS.com. That's HomelandSecurityUS.com. Now, ordinarily, you can also watch us as well as we are simulcast on the Christians United Broadcasting Network. However, tonight we are not broadcasting on the Christians United Broadcasting Network video. We are broadcasting. You can pick up the audio. The chat room is active. Everything is active. We just don't have live video there, and I'm going to tell you why. We are reformatting once again our studio, and it's next time you see it, it's going to be an amazing sight. And I want to thank each and every one of you for helping us do that. And folks, thanks for joining us, and thank you for your belief and trust in us as we walk through this minefield of perilous times, current events together. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say this. In addition to taking your calls tonight, we are going to have, and by the way, if you do want to weigh in on a topic that we've been talking about, 661-244-9839. I want to say at the third hour, we're going to have author Philip Sharp joining us. And Philip Sharp spent 20 years in the U.S. Army Infantry, during which he graduated from Ranger School. He did a number of parachute jumps and so on. He is the author of a book, and we're going to be talking about that more later. Third hour, yes. And anyway, that said, welcome to the show, Joe.
Oh, glad to be here. We spent the day hoping to get the video all set up, but we spent the day doing audio.
Yeah, it was a good day, actually.
Yeah, it was. Hopefully we figured out what the audio problems were, got them fixed.
I think so.
The only thing I can hear, which I don't even know if the listeners can hear, is a slight, sounds like wind almost.
Yeah, if you hear that, it's not on our end.
Connecting through Cuban, and I don't know, Troy, if you can hear me, but it's just a real low,
kind of like a
whooshing sound. But if it's not bothering you, it's not bothering me, and we'll continue on.
And let me open up the program, if I might, folks. I just want to say thank you to a gentleman I'm just going to refer to as the Professor. That's not his title, nor is it a name or any type of designation. That's just something I've decided to call him, the Professor. And this gentleman was behind the information that we provided in the article on HomelandSecurityUS.com and CanadaFreePress.com about Syria and where the really Syria being World War III is not going to start in Iran. It's going to start in Syria. All right, and the fuse has already been lit. But I spent some time talking with him, and I just want to say, and again, I'll refer to him as the Professor because he's just an amazing guy. I want to thank him publicly and if I suspect he might be listening tonight, I do want to thank him for everything that he is, all the knowledge he's imparted and shared with me, and the education which he's given me, and which I hope to be able to, in some way, shape, or form, share to you. But one of the things I got from our discussion today, and it was a lengthy one, is that, we, as the host of this program, but more importantly, each and every listener is a leader. You are all leaders right now. And the thing that really got me was, imagine your parents and your grandparents and their parents and so on. Imagine going through the lineage, through the years, and where we are right today is you and I and Joe, the listeners and everyone. If you're listening to this broadcast, you're a leader. But we were born for this moment in time. And it's our duty, it's our job, and it's our privilege to be able to share knowledge with others who will listen. And it's kind of like this. It was explained to me like this. Imagine scrolls thousands of years ago being rolled up and put into a clay pot. And that clay pot, it was the job of your parents and grandparents and my parents and grandparents, and they held on to that pot with the instructions of, look, it's not to be opened, and not to be read, not to be shared until such time as it could be understood. And the time is now. We are the ones charged with opening that pot, taking off the cover, or breaking the clay pot, and grabbing the scrolls that are inside and reading the scrolls. Now, Joe, and I'll tell you, I mean, I know that you heard part of the conversation, and you know, it's what we are seeing right today. And folks, this is so important for me. It struck me right between the solar plexus, right into the chest, and deep inside my spirit. Today, we are looking at a curtain that's before us, and we stick our hand into the curtain, and what we're feeling is something rough. Someone else might be feeling something, I don't know, maybe thin and scraggly. Someone else might be feeling something a little bit long and rough as well. But what's behind the curtain is an elephant. We're all feeling a piece of that elephant. We all have a piece of that puzzle. There are a lot of people out there that have pieces or are touching the elephant. A lot of people aren't even looking. A lot of people have not even realized that there's an elephant or there's something behind the curtain. They're just seeing the curtain. But for everyone listening, and for us, we know that there's something behind that curtain. We know that there's something more. So we have the temerity and the need to search and to find out what that is. So at this point, the curtain cannot be opened. We can't open the curtain yet, but we can stick our hand through the curtain, the opening in the curtain, and attempt to define what we're looking at, or what we're not looking at, but we can feel it, we can sense it. And again, each one of us has our hand maybe on a piece of that puzzle or a piece of that elephant. And that's what we're doing right here, right now. We are attempting it because what is before us is so big that we really can't define it. We can't define it by touch. We can't define it by smell necessarily. We can't define it in any other way except to know, look, there's something big behind the curtain. And what's behind the curtain is the absolute truth. And I hope, I don't know, Joe, if I'm actually describing this well.
Mm-hmm. You are.
But I got to tell you something, folks. It is something right now. Every one of you listening to this broadcast, you're a leader. You're a leader in your own family. You're a leader in your own community, in your circle of friends. And whether or not people listen to you, maybe that's not up to you. Maybe that's not up to us. Whether people listen to us, maybe that's not up to us. But it's our responsibility, nonetheless, to attempt as leaders to get the word out. And that's what we're doing right now. And you know something, and I realize this every single day. The more I think I know, the less I really know. And I don't profess to know anything, really, except what you and I, Joe, and what others have contributed to us in terms of knowledge. People in unbelievably high places have given us bits and pieces of information. What they know, what they believe to be the truth. That's what so we are charged at this point with a number of different things. But I guess the big thing right now, if there's, and I'm mixing metaphors here. I was going to get into the puzzle thing, but instead of mixing metaphors, let me just say this. It's so important for everyone to take a number of steps back so we can see the entire picture. At some point, we're going to be able to see the elephant, but at least see the curtains. At least see that there are curtains there that's covering the elephant. And when you stick your hand through and you get a piece of that puzzle or get a piece of that elephant, maybe you know instinctively through the spirit that that's an elephant. And maybe you know instinctively that it's a huge animal. But when you try to explain this as a leader in your circle of friends, your family, your community, it's difficult especially if they're not only not seeing the elephant that behind the curtain, or haven't stuck their hand through the curtain, but even if they don't refuse to, especially if they refuse to acknowledge that there's a curtain covering that particular elephant. And again, I don't know if I made myself, if I said that correctly.
Yeah.
But do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
keep going.
No. Look, I just think, again, you can listen to Alex Jones. God bless him. I like him. And he's got a piece. He's got pieces of the puzzle, but sometimes, like us, we don't have all of it. He doesn't have all of it. Rick Wiles doesn't have all of it, but there are different levels. Like Rick Wiles, my goodness, what a great. I mean, I'll tell you what. I could listen to him all day long. Steve Quayle too. We all have pieces. Yeah. And we all have to get together. We all have to converge and to try to really expose what's behind this curtain.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm just going to stop right there, but I just want to let everyone know, everyone that listens to us, that look, we don't know half of what we should know or half of what we need to know. But what we do know, we want to tell you and share this with you. And that's our job as watchmen. But you too, every one of you too, listening to this, you are all leaders, and please accept that role with honor, accept the role of leadership with the responsibility, with personal integrity and character, because that I think everyone needs to do, especially now for this moment in time where we stand right now. And I believe truly, at this moment in time, we've been appointed for this moment in time. And we have to do this. We have to educate. We have to not only protect ourselves, not only protect our families, not only understand that we're facing eyeball to eyeball right now with evil, with an agenda that's been in the works for decades, if not hundreds of years, maybe even longer than that. We have to recognize that it's pure evil, and we have to recognize that, look, this agenda is at play. And a lot of things, for example, and we're going to get into this tonight, the G20, the economic crisis, the people who pull the strings, they created the solution before they created the problem.
Yeah.
And that's so important to understand.
They have the solution before we know what the problem is. And they continue to do this through these shadow government groups, through the funding with our own money. They are truly a version of an antichrist. 2 Peter chapter 2. But false prophets also arose among the people, just as there will also be false teachers among you who will secretly introduce destructive heresies, even denying the master who brought them, being swift in destruction upon themselves. And that, what I gather from that is these people, the generation we're living in now, are denying the master at a level like we've never seen before. And this goes to exactly what you were saying, and I don't know what you just did in the headphones there, but you switched, so I don't have left hearing. I don't have audio on the left headset.
Sorry about that.
No,
we're tweaking our equipment, by the way.
Yeah, and several people mentioned sound problems last night, and saying sound problems are not, or sound is great tonight.
Great, great. Thank you, folks. Thank you, because we
took apart everything today. And put it all back together, and hopefully we got.
And I want to thank Troy too for all of his input, folks. Troy works very hard at Christians United Broadcasting Network. But go ahead, Joe.
No, just to continue. In the days that we live in, we have to know, you were talking about being a leader. Well, there's never been a more important time to be a leader for Christ than now. What other thing can we do to benefit ourselves? What do we have to look forward to in this life, on this earth? Not much.
No, but
except our families, our friends, and our sharing of the gospel and not only sharing the word of the gospel, but sharing the message, which is help, being there when someone, needs charity, whatever the calling is. We all need to be leaders, as you said, pure of heart,
yes,
intentions pure, and
yes,
doing the right thing, being righteous. Otherwise, we are leaving ourselves vulnerable to be guilty at Judgment Day.
And it's not like, ladies and gentlemen, it's not like we're out here preaching. And
yes, it is.
Well, look, I guess because see, all right, the battle is on the spiritual plane. I guess I don't.
Yeah,
the battle is on the spiritual plane. I mean, people
that's
say
the only battle that really counts.
Yes. Well, I turn into you guys to hear the news and analysis, but no, part and parcel to the news and analysis and the current events is a battle that's taking place on the spiritual plane, and that is that's what we're facing. And again, the gentleman I spoke with tonight, I asked him. I said, well, I mean, for example, you've got a globalist. Let's say, for example, like a Rothschild or a Rockefeller. They've got all the money and all the money that they could ask for, all the riches of the world that they can ask for.
Right.
Why? What's the agenda? What do they want? What more could you possibly want?
And that question is so important.
Right.
And
but do you know
so
the answer?
Few people ask it.
Yes.
As to why they want they continue the agenda, having everything they want on this earth. Why they continue the destruction? Why they continue?
Right. What's their agenda? What's their ultimate? What are they? What can they possibly buy? If that's the right question to ask. What can they possibly buy?
Well, as much as they say they know and claim to know, they are also deceived.
Well, yes, but let me just give you an answer, and then then we can think about it from there. And the answer was given to me tonight, and of course you know this intuitively, and I've heard this before, but maybe not in the proper context. They're buying the future. That's what they're after, the future. They're buying the future, their future, not ours. We're not. It's not us.
No,
we're the worker bees, or the worker ants, if you will.
Yeah, we are the useless eaters.
And when we're done, it doesn't matter. We're the unwashed, great unwashed. You see, it's them. They are buying their future, and it is so to me evil. And I think if you look again, I would urge everyone to take a few steps back. Of whether it's Libya, you look at Libya, and it's easy to say, well, if for example, if I would get on Neil Cavuto or Fox News and say, you know what, Russia is behind Libya, the assassination of Stevens, would you say, well, huh? What are you talking about? But when you say, well, Stevens was killed because of mortar attack, a very well-defined planned attack, with the laser-guided weapons. Well, where did the weapons come from? Well, they came from Muslim Brotherhood. Well, who supplied them? And as you peel back the layers and go step by step by step by step, where does that finally end? Well, with Russia. So there is, again, as if we are testifying in a court of law. We go step by step by step. And at the end of the road, in this particular case with Libya and Ambassador Stevens, it's Russia. So why, for example, why is this so important? Why are we talking about this? Once again, why are we talking about this? Because this is really what's at play now. They are bringing us, the people who are making the agenda, are bringing us to the precipice of the Third World War. Look, this is going to start with a regional conflict, Turkey, Syria, and it's going to grow, and it's going to grow, and it's going to grow.
And I went through a research venture into the Gog and Magog war in Ezekiel, the nations, the names in the ancient lands that tie in with those names.
Right, like Cush and other names in the Bible.
When you put that together, which many people have, and there's ample videos, reports, books, articles on the subject, you see the exact alliances we see now. Turkey, from Tunisia to Morocco and Libya in between. I mean, every nation that's been overthrown recently is involved in this Gog and Magog. They're the wrong side of this.
That's right. That's correct.
No, and we see, these times that we live in, people are so uncertain. People are so, it's not clear to them what future they have. Will they have time for grandchildren? Will they have time for, X, Y, and Z? Fear. And we see from that fear, whether conscious or unconscious, we see this, generation of people who don't act through their thoughts and their heart. They act purely on animal-like instincts.
Sure, it's the body alarm reaction.
Correct.
Like Keith Hansen talks about.
And when you say take a step back, and everybody listening, if you're Democratic or Republican, diehard, take a step back from that whole system. Rethink things and look at our country. The show title for today is The American Nightmare, because it's not the American dream anymore. I state that the Republic of America is dead, and it is dead because
as long as the people pronounce it. But look, we can't. One of my favorite sayings is, "Where there's breath and life, there's still hope."
Right. There are true Americans who would fit, the constitutionally minded Republic of America, but unfortunately, the majority are no longer constitutionally minded. Our Constitution has been shredded by illegal legislation and these agendas of the people who you have been referencing.
Yeah, and but fear is a great motivator, isn't it? Because people get up and say, "Wow, there's a big calamity coming." Well, okay, there is. How do you prepare for it? Because knowledge about what's coming does help allay fear. Because if you know what's coming, if you know a tornado is coming or a hurricane is coming, you've got time to board up your windows. You've got time to get into a underground shelter if it's a tornado, or whatever the case might be. So we're looking at right now. We are looking at and again, these are not really my words. I cannot take credit, nor do I want to take credit for this, because the people that are so much more intelligent than I am, giving me and patiently explaining things to me, taking time out of their busy, believe me, schedules that would just make your head explode, and with knowledge that just they have to give it to me in pieces, bite-sized pizzas. Pizzas. I am. I'm hungry. But bite-sized pieces, because otherwise you just kind of shut down. It's knowledge overload. It's information overload, and you can't take it. And it's like, oh wow. And this is what we're dealing with. I think this is what the entirety of Western civilization, and particularly Americans, are dealing with right now. We know something's coming. We know it's there. People can feel it. Remember the article, or I referenced the article yesterday. I don't know if the audio is good enough on our replay to really to reference it, but where there was an article where people are there's this awakening right now, people are saying, look, we can feel we sense something is coming, but what is it? Well, I will stipulate, or I will submit at this point, it's just not one thing. It's a number of things. And the people who are behind the people who are actually pulling the strings, or actually calling the shots, or calling the plays, or writing the screenplay, if you will, they're very well prepared. And I would dare say maybe there's probably just a few, maybe a couple of dozen people in the entire United States that really know what's going on. Maybe more. I don't know. Maybe 50 or 60 or maybe even 100.
And when you say know what's going on, you're talking about the agendas,
the ultimate plan. The big plan.
We all know what the big plan is in general.
Well,
but we don't know how it will be implemented, the nature it will take, how bad except for what we know in the Bible and what.
Right, exactly, and that's why I don't think anyone can really talk to people about current events and about the plans of the evildoers, the people, whether you want to call them the Illuminati or whether you want to call them the Bilderbergers or whatever, whoever these people are. I don't think we can really address this issue and really get to the heart of, or really have the understanding without having knowledge of or reference to the Bible, the Christian Bible, the Old and New Testaments, both. Because the answers can be found in the Bible. And again, and I think that's why, personally, I believe that's why Christianity is under attack today, to stop the word from being given today. Because with that word comes understanding. And that understanding is the key to fighting the battle. The Bible is the key to really understanding their game plan or their agenda. So why, is it just for sport that they want to take on Christians? No. It's because Christians pose a danger to their plans. Because the Bible reveals inner spiritual knowledge. It possesses that, and we absorb that, and we're able to understand. So every current event, in my estimation, every event that takes place, if you look at it through a biblical worldview, you've got to look at it that way, and you've got to put it in the perspective of the Bible, and that's what we try to do. I hope we do a good job. I really do. I hope we do.
That is what we do try to do, and like you said, sometimes, for me at least, I have the perfect thoughts in my head as to how to say something, a message from the Bible, trying to tie it into current events so the way people can understand, and sometimes it comes out of my mouth the completely wrong way, But
mine too. And
it says, in Peter, it said that God knows how to separate the godly from the ungodly. Where's the verse here?
I know which one you're talking about.
Yes, the Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. And this is what we talked about, the transition period. Henry Groover touched on this. Pastor David Langford talked about this.
Yes.
God is taking his people and putting them in the places that they need to be for what he calls them to do in these times we are coming up against.
And ladies and gentlemen, again, let me just say this one more time for those joining us a little bit late. See, you're here for a reason. At this very moment in time, on this very day, at this very moment, at this point in time, at this point in our history, you've been selected. I believe, and people can argue this, and they can say, well, a lot of generations have thought this, and I'm not saying that this is the end of things. No, I'm not saying that, but you're born for a reason, and I think today, at this moment, you're born to be that leader. Whether it's a small leader of your family, or a leader of your community, or a leader of your block, of your neighbors, it doesn't really matter. But fulfill that distinction as a leader with the knowledge of the Bible and the knowledge of current events.
Yeah.
And the knowledge that there's something behind the curtain.
Yeah,
act as watchmen too.
Look at, and just to give the most obvious examples, the prophecy states in the end days people will be boastful, prideful, lovers of self, putting fulfilling pleasures of the flesh rather than spending their time with the Lord.
Isn't it?
And we're seeing this really. This generation in the last 40 years up until now is worse than it's ever been, the disconnect from the Lord. And people grow up and mock the Lord without knowing Him, without reading the Bible. As I always say, the search for true knowledge is not in most people's hearts. They don't have that drive. But I heard a good, I guess, analogy to that is on Rick Wilde's show. He had a man on named Tyrone, and I think you watched this YouTube video with me. He died. He got his arm cut off and rolled over, and he died.
Yes.
Was thrown into a pond and went to hell and came back. And he made the point that each fruit grows in different ways, in different seasons. Some needs to be pruned. Some needs to be, given more care than others. And it's the same way with humans. We, in our new covenant with the Lord, has ingrained, He is with us now in our hearts. And we must open that door. He doesn't just, do everything for us. We must come halfway. We must open that door. We must reach out to help other people. And you'll be amazed when you start to do that, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners do, but when you reach out to help other people, the things that happen. When Pastor Jay came on and talked about his experience about mountain biking from Florida to Tennessee, how he prayed and helped somebody get their cross blessed with holy water, and they were all under a bridge on a rainy day, and he shared his last little bit of food he had with them, and before the end of the night, there were people bringing garbage bags.
It was a very uplifting story, but that's how things happen. And now on the other side of that, and folks, please understand this. On the other side of that, there's deception, and again, thank you, Professor. Again, if you're listening, God bless you, and God protects you in your works. I know that, but
in the deception, it's so complex. It's so much more complex than the truth, because there's deception and deception and deception.
There's layers of deception.
Yes.
But see, folks, here's where I think everyone gets tripped up. The deception is can be, often so minuscule, so small, that you don't even realize you're being deceived. And the majority of people don't realize, because
we've both been deceived.
Let me tell you,
more than once.
Sometimes I feel like I got sucker written on my back, and we're trained as investigators in that profession, we should be knowledgeable, or we should have that innate sense, and to be able to pick out the deception. But see, the deception in this case, when I say minuscule, I'm talking about maybe just something from Hollywood, or something that in a movie theater, or just pick any area of your life, and there is a layer of deception. No matter how thin that layer is, it's there. And a lot of times, people who are perpetuating this deception don't even know that they're doing it, because they're compartmentalized, or they're just blind to that larger picture.
Yeah, and those who have joined us late, just want to reiterate this, that author Philip Sharp will be on, author of Not in the Wind, Earthquake, or Fire.
That's in the third hour, right?
I want to say this because it pertains to what you're saying. He says this: when all hell breaks loose, it is easy to wonder where God is. Often he is not in the wind, earthquake, or fire raging around us, but in the gentle whisper that follows. And when he comes on, he's going to talk more about that and the firsthand carnage of war. He will be giving an account of his experience, which will tie into this as well.
Okay, well, that's good. And folks, again, it seems like we're talking about things that are not necessarily tangible at this point, but I think it's so important to understand the fundamental, for us to understand the stage.
And you say that word tangible, and it is true. And we talked about this the other day. The things of this world that are tangible, what are they worth in eternity?
Yeah, they're saying you can't take it with you. Well, you can't, and nor should you, or could you? But no, you can't. But nor should you, while you're alive, really adhere to that I've got more toys, so that makes me more important mentality either, or just because you're living more comfortably than someone else. That's not what it's all about. It's about the collective greater good. And I don't want to sound like I'm going into something like kumbaya here, but we are charged right now. I think, again, with this day and time, at this very moment, we're charged now. We have been given an awesome responsibility, folks. Every one of us,
Mm-hmm.
an awesome responsibility. Now is the time, and even if it's not the last bit of time, now is the time when we have to start opening these jars, pulling out the scrolls that are inside these jars, and understanding and sharing this information. First of all, understanding it ourselves, and then sharing it with others. Telling people, look, there is something behind the curtain, but you've got to see the curtain first. And just to kind of switch gears just a little bit here, one of the things, for example, that people have been asking me, well, what do you think is going to happen? I think that there's a number of possibilities here aside from the Third World War. The ultimate objective, in our estimation, based on what we've been able to come up with, talking with numerous people who, again, are a lot more intelligent than we are, is the ultimate objective right now is to get America out of the way. Okay? The things that are happening with Russia over in the Middle East, the countries that are lining up, all of this massive three-dimensional chess game. And America is not part of this, or they don't want America to be part of this.
One, America is full of gun owners.
Well, true.
Two, yep. America has been historically Israel's number one ally.
Yes, however, now stop right there.
Leadership.
But let me ask you a question. When is the last time you heard Obama talk about the Palestinian-Israeli peace? Anything about any type of peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians? You haven't heard those come out of his mouth, have you? That phrase.
Not necessarily, and I only pay attention to Obama as much as the news stories and emails and information we receive. I don't watch all of his press conferences, but no, there is a problem with Obama. He has not visited Israel in his presidency.
Correct.
And he said if he got a second term, he would.
The second term is going to lead into a third term, and then, of course, we're going to have a coronation instead of an inauguration on our hands. But again, the whole idea here is to take America out of play. And so folks, if you think about this and really spend some quiet time with the Bible on your lap or on the table and a cup of coffee in the still of the morning, before it's light, turn on the light before the kids get up, before your wife gets up or your husband gets up, whoever you might be, whatever leader you are in your family, and you sit there and you start to think about the big picture, and you start to think, well, what's the plan here? Well, obviously America cannot exist or can't be a player, at least not in its current form. So how are they going to neutralize, when I say they, the globalist agenda, the people with the evil people, the world global elite? How are they going to take us out? With a bomb? Maybe, could be. Were they going to take our guns? Oh, what a nightmare that would be. And that's possible, though, depending on that would be a regional thing. I don't see a big gun grab coming. Again, I'm just throwing this out, folks, and also throwing it out, but based on information we've received. There's one way to do it, a very simple way, and that is this: just destroy our economy, take us out, our money supply, go. Well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to bankrupt us to the point of with leaving us without the ability to function? In the current form, and again, remember, these plans are fluid. They're not they're not carved in stone. They're fluid. In the current situation, think about Syria, think about Iran, think about all of this. Just simply, if you want to destroy the dollar in a heartbeat, hey, all you have to do is disrupt the free flow of oil from the Middle East. When you do that, that will have a cascading effect and it'll implode our economy. And pretty soon, we're not going to be able to buy anything. We're not going to have the ability to go to the grocery store because everything's going to stop. You disrupt the free flow of oil from the Middle East, you're going to destroy the dollar. You destroy the dollar. Wow. Will there be riots? Will there be social and urban social and chaos here? Absolutely. There will be fighting in cities. There are going to be roving gangs of people because they're going to be hungry, because they're not going to be able to buy food. So while we are fighting internally with one another, they don't have to worry about us. That's it. I mean, that's one way it could go. I'm not saying that's how it's going to go. Given the analysis right now, that's probably the way it would go. Stop the free flow. Hey, one tanker. You wouldn't even have to sink a tanker in the Strait of Hormuz. All you'd have to do is threaten to do it.
Right. And I heard an excellent sermon on preparedness and physical preparedness. Is it right or wrong? Is it something that we should be doing? And I will just
what did Noah do?
I will just find the video. And
Noah prepared.
Yeah.
Joseph prepared.
Yeah, I will find the video of this. What this pastor says, and this guy is from Hawaii. And
I saw that. A listener, I think Lucy might have sent that to us.
He makes a good point. I mean, all the way out there in Hawaii,
right?
What if things go bad? The planes stop coming in, bringing food, supplies, other things. Well, they're just going to be helpless out there.
Right.
So he said there needs to be a level of physical preparedness.
And I know that people will say, well, I believe in the rapture pre-trib. I believe in the mid-trib, post-trib. If you do take those steps back, and I really don't want to make this into a discussion about the rapture because to me it's a circular argument.
Yeah.
Because the larger picture is...
It's a dividing argument.
Yeah, the divisiveness associated with that is just too great. That's not to say that I don't want to take a stand, but I just don't want to do it right now, okay? But here's the thing. You brought this up, Joe. Of course you have to prepare. As adults, as leaders, as everyone is a leader, everyone listening to this is a leader of their own, within their own sphere, within their own group. Yeah, you've got to prepare. Because it would be irresponsible not to. And didn't God tell us, didn't Jesus tell us to prepare? Didn't God instruct others, instruct in the Old Testament to prepare? Obviously he did. It would be, look, folks, do you have life insurance? Do you have car insurance? Do you have homeowners insurance if you own a home? Or rental insurance if you rent your apartment? Do you have disability insurance? Something I don't have, but if you do, that's preparation. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily expecting a fire. That's responsible preparation. So how different is it? How much different is it to be prepared to have food in your pantry, even if you're expecting to be raptured out of here, even if that's what you expect? Hey, the people that you're going to leave behind.
Yeah, that and people that you encounter. Just a personal experience. I gave some rice and things, food supplies, to a man in my town that I was told to give them to through my spirit. And, the food storage I had saved up, I gladly gave some of that away. Not caring that I'm losing food supplies, but happy to be able to help another one. And
exactly,
it doesn't matter if they're for us, for the people left behind, but just it's important to be prepared all around. But this is not a show about physical preparedness.
No, it's not.
But I just wanted to use that video to help people who were wondering, who had questions, to listen to that point of view and decide, for yourself, or if that helps or not. I hope it does.
Yeah, look, and that's what we're all about. We're all I mean, ultimately, I hope that's what we're all about, is helping people, and through information, through sharing information. So as we see it, the plan right now, obviously, the chess pieces overseas in the Middle East and the Near East, they're being lined up, and the country, or the power brokers, the global elite, they're lining up their chess pieces. They're getting their countries, they're preparing everything. But the end result is a economic collapse here in this country. How they're going to do it? They could very well do it by disrupting the free flow of oil at this particular point in time. That would probably do the trick. And in the course of a week, in that short period of time, the entire country could come to a halt, or at least the bulk of it. But see, folks, here's the thing. Here's what you didn't. Maybe you missed this. I know we touched on it a little bit back August 22nd, roughly, or within the last month or month and a half, 2 months, G20 meeting.
The surprise G20 meeting.
That's right.
G20 meeting.
The emergency G20 meeting.
Yeah.
And this is something, and folks, I'm sorry we did not really cover this as much as we should have. But that G20 meeting, ladies and gentlemen, look, what was that all about? They created the solution to a problem that they had not yet created. Did you follow me on that? At that G20 emergency summit meeting, they created the solution that they hadn't yet created the problem for. They have the intent to create the problem, but in order to come out of this ahead, and this is so important for people to understand, in order for them to come out ahead, they've got to have the solution already in hand when the problem hits, because that way we can look at them and say, wow, there are saviors, and with a small s, there are saviors. They had it all together. They thought ahead. They saw this coming. Now they've got this basket of currencies. They've got this international currency now, because they knew in their infinite wisdom that our economy was going to tank. The U.S. dollar was going to, in fact,
part of the design.
That's right. So that's the plan. That was the plan. That is the plan. They're going to take down the U.S. dollar. And again, it's the U.S. dollar. What's it backed by? Nothing. But what's it used for today? What's it attached to? It's attached to the oil. It's being used for oil, the petrodollar. Okay, so you take that away, disrupt the free flow of energy, or threaten to disrupt the free flow of energy. Our economy collapses. Of course, the infighting here, the rioting, the mobs, the urban warfare, the blood on the streets, the social chaos. This is going to be just a huge distraction in this country.
Yeah,
and sadly, more than a distraction. I mean, but that's to them. Hey, we're going to be distracted.
So people won't know where to turn. People won't know what to look for.
Right.
People will be looking for what we talk about is a political solution to a problem that is spiritual.
Exactly. But on a practical level, though, maintaining this on a practical level, they've already created the solution to the problem that they're going to create. I don't know if that makes sense. They've already created a solution, that's a basket, the international currency, to a problem they have yet to create. They know, for example, compare this to a firehouse and arson, or to a firehouse and a building. Look, they know they're going to start that building on fire, so they build a fire department, down the road, and they staff the fire department, and they get all the preparations for the fire department. So when that house goes up in flames, they come out and they put it out. Eventually, you might be left with nothing more than a foundation. But you look at them and say, hey, they're the good guys. They helped us. They helped everybody. They got the fire out. Yet they're the ones that started the fire. That's the Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution, cold water, great. That's exactly right. So that's what's going on. And You can compare this with Nazi Germany, if you will. You can compare this with whatever in historical context. But that's what's going on today. That's what we're looking at. I don't know whether it's a week away, a month away, 6 months away. But you know, one thing I do know, it doesn't matter if Obama is in there or if Romney's in there. It just doesn't matter, because both of them really have ultimately, not visibly, but ultimately have the same paymasters. Now, Romney might buy us a little bit more time with Romney, perhaps. Maybe not. I don't know. But it doesn't. See, again, it's like a professional wrestling. It's all a show. So that's why, in fact, when I went out today, and Joe and I both were out in different places to get various cords and new cords and other parts of equipment for the audio here and for a studio that we're going to be going to tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm listening. At one point, I listened to Rush Limbaugh, and then I listened to, it was on the radio. And it's all politics. It's all politics. It's all Romney versus Obama. But never once was there any mention of, look, the bigger picture is this. And Sean Hannity too, coming back. It was all Ryan and Biden. Look, it's all a distraction. To me, that talk radio is just like a cut above, perhaps, I don't know, watching a football game. Because in the scheme of things, does it really matter if the Jets win the Super Bowl? No. Does it really affect your life?
How does it affect you personally?
Right. In the long run,
you can brag that a team that you watch on TV accomplished something without you, and it makes it feel like you're part of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
You ever hear people, "Oh, my team won the Super Bowl this year." Like, your team? You played on the team?
Yeah.
Well, my favorite team. Well,
yeah.
What'd you win?
Exactly.
But
see, but this is, again, it's genius in its simplicity. It's evil genius in its simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
The distraction created by talk radio, the distraction created by sports, a distraction created by television news, because they've got you focused. They've got your attention. And how many people listening right now, ladies and gentlemen, your parents maybe, your grandparents, your neighbors, are watching CBS, NBC, ABC News and hearing, hey, you know what, unemployment's at 7.8%. Is it really? No, of course not.
No, it's more like 20.
But they're saying it is. Meanwhile, Greece is erupting. Mm-hmm. Spain is erupting. Italy, all of
France.
Okay, this is coming here. But do you hear that? No, you don't hear that. And even, again, to the people you might turn and say, okay, we're gonna tune into. Again, I'm not picking on Sean Hannity, but you turn to Sean Hannity, or you turn to Rush Limbaugh and say, well, what are they saying about it? Well, you know what? No, they're rooting for their own team,
right?
Or
in the terms or in the prison that they are allowed to by their overlords.
That's right.
I mean, we don't have anybody here saying you got to cover X, Y, and Z today, don't mention this, or that. But that's how they work,
right?
Know?
And I say not yet, tongue in cheek, because no one is going to tell us to do that. And when if no. That's one thing I can guarantee and promise everybody out there, that no one's going to tell us that we can't say this or we can't say that. But
they can tell us, but it's going to fall on deaf ears, as our true purpose to hopefully bring people closer to the Lord, put people back in good practices with their families, with themselves, helping people to be put back into the Word of the Lord will take care of all the other things.
Exactly.
And if anybody ever were to say, stop, no, of course not. Because the Lord is what our focus is. Salvation is the goal, and that is done through finding a personal relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ and following His commandments.
And it's some people, and I know guys like some real guys. They say, well, it's embarrassing to talk about that. You just can't talk about that, and I don't see how you could talk about that on talk radio. Well, what else is there? I mean, at the end of the day, what else is there? Yeah, and really, this is we are put here on this earth to serve, to honor, serve God.
Yeah, that's our sole purpose.
Right.
Well,
right.
Along with our family, creating a family,
but for the larger purpose.
Right.
And we could take 1,000 different side roads and what have you in this discussion, but again, and I notice there's a lot of people joining us late. Just understand this, and I just because it is so important. What folks, what you're seeing going on right now is one of the biggest deceptions I know in my lifetime, and I've lived. I do recall. I mean, Vietnam, of course, and the Iran-Contra affair. I mean, you just pick a decade, and you can half a dozen things come to mind. But what we're seeing right now is a huge deception. We are being told that Al-Qaeda, or that the bad guys, so to speak, killed Stevens, Ambassador Stevens. Why is this important? Why is Libya so doggone important? Why do you keep bringing this up? Because this is going to be the ultimate trigger event. And folks, please understand, bear with me. I know you've heard this 100 times, but this is the ultimate trigger event that's going to lead to a global conflict if left unchecked. And at this point, I see nothing, absolutely nothing, to stop this flow of propaganda that states that who's behind the death of our ambassador and a number of other people is Russia. I see nobody saying that. And people have a hard time accepting that because it's a big leap between what happened in Benghazi and saying Russia is behind it. Well, there's a lot of things a lot of blanks you've got to fill in to make that case. But we can make that case, and we have made that case. And if you do make that case, well, what's the natural progression of things? Russia was saying, look, you've got to stop doing what you're doing. You've got to stop right now. Well, now we've got this zone for refugees in Turkey, Syria, Turkey. You've got this NATO coming in. You bring NATO in and the United States in, and this is going to escalate very quickly. Well, what's going to happen as a result of that? Ultimately, Iran's going to get dragged into this as well. I mean, but that's not going to be the spark that creates this. But again, this is to take out America. This is a brilliant plan to take out America without even having to bomb one of our cities.
Yes.
And taking out America is by, again, through the progression of events. And again, this is not carved in stone. The objective is the same. The plans are different. There are various different plans that can be implemented. But ultimately, it's an attack on the U.S. dollar. One of the ways, threaten the free flow of oil, bang. Okay, we're down. Threaten to sink or actually sink a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, we're down. Then we become hungry, we fight among ourselves, and I guarantee you there are people out there that are not prepared and that are going to be going around, and it's going to be mob violence in the United States. That's part of the plan. And that's a double-edged sword. That's a multi-purpose thing, too, because that calls the population. Because what's one of the big things, one of the big objectives of the people behind all this? They want the population down. Look at the Georgia Guidestones.
Yep. We've talked about that many times.
Right. What's the objective there?
You can tear down the Ten Commandments in front of every courthouse in the country whoever the atheists, these people who are offended by the Ten Commandments can have these things, taken down, God taken out of schools, out of pretty much all public life, but yet there are these 10 Commandments of man to stand, which are
you're talking about the
Georgia man's laws,
right?
Yes.
Right, man's laws. That's right.
And they are not laws; they are guidelines, as
That's
they
right.
state, but these are the guidelines that they are following. Maintain population at a maximum of 500 million, I think it says, is the first one. Look at all the population reduction control methods, the eugenics they have in place. I mean, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has set up eugenics factories all across the world on every continent. Okay? Planned Parenthood is in schools. They use sterilization in our food, in our water.
But you know why? I mean, the ultimate objective is this. They are the elite. In their minds, they're the elite. They're the elite. They are the chosen ones.
You said that first part, in their minds.
Well, it is in their minds. And they look at us as nothing but worker ants, as little useful
worker bees, useful feeders, worker bees, the laborers.
Right. They don't want to get rid of us necessarily right this moment. But at some point, they're going to say, look, okay, now we're done with you. So now it doesn't matter.
Just like Al-Qaeda serves its purpose and started serving its purpose, continues to do so today, they're not going to continue to let it happen.
Exactly.
But we have reached the top of the hour so fast. We should take calls on the other side about 10 minutes after we come back on the other side. Folks, you're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Tuesday, October 9th, 2012. We'll be back after these few short messages from our sponsors and taking your calls. As I see, we have a phone bank pretty full, but give us a call at 661-244-9839. We'll try to take as many phone calls in the second hour as we have our guest author, Philip Sharp, in the third hour. Stay with us.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your number one priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the Internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eilena Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Hold on to your seats. The Hagmann and Hagmann flight is now taking off. Doug and Joe Hagmann have cleared the runway of TSA agents, jihadists, political crackpots, and global elitists. Now get ready for some real news. Here they are, Doug and Joe Hagmann.
Thanks, Lori. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 2 of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report for today, October 9th, 2012. I'm Doug Hagmann. With me to my right, although you can't see us tonight, is Joe Hagmann, and he's my son, and together we are the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for your just being with us. I'll tell you what, it's so great to get your emails, and I'm still behind, woefully behind on emails, and so is Joe, but it's so great to have you with us. And again, I just want to reiterate something I said at the beginning of the show. I believe that everyone listening to this program, if you're listening to it live or on archive, you were born for this moment in time, and you are all leaders among your group, whether it's your family, your friends, your neighborhood, your workforce, your whatever. You're all leaders, and you're all charged at this point with executing that leadership with integrity and character. And you've got a responsibility. You know, our forefathers, their grandparents, or parents, or their grandparents, and so on, they've all lived. And I guess as a metaphor, they've all maintained, kept possession of, and kept watch over this clay pot. With inside the clay pot are the scrolls, the instructions, open at this time. And now is the time when we take that clay pot and we take the cork out of it, and we pull out those scrolls, we pull out those instructions, we pull out that level of information, that level of, or that bit of wisdom, and we say, okay, now, what is it that we need to know? What is it that we need to do? What is it that we need to recognize? And this is all for the glory of God, and I'm not afraid to say that. It doesn't make me a wimp. It doesn't make me any less of a man, nor should it make anyone else any less of a man or woman to say that. No. That's what we're here for. And, you know, it's so important for us to help everyone else understand that. And in order to understand that, we can't just have tunnel vision. We can't be blind. We have to take the blinders off.
And you said something, you know, the glory needs to be given to God, and you're not afraid to say that. A lot of people, surprisingly, are afraid to proclaim Jesus and his words. Public places, family picnics, to a friend. Who knows? I've had problems where, you know,
of course,
some people say things and you want to say, well, dude, don't you know the Lord Jesus? Or, and that's separate from also being afraid to say something in fear of being judged by your friends or family or whatever. Those barriers need to be broken immediately, because if that's the case, we have to work harder on ourselves, and because we cannot have any weakness in our spirituality, in our relationship with the Lord. One little bit of weakness can bring us completely down. We could stumble over the stumbling blocks that are thrown in our way.
That's right.
So we need to, with gladliness and excitement and love, and just proclaim the name of God any chance we get to anyone we can, and not be afraid to do so, because does not matter if you are popular or not. I think in the Bible it says that a prophet, no true prophet is loved by all men, something along those lines. Not saying we're prophets, but just
and certainly not equating ourselves to that.
Saying
either,
that it is not popular, and especially today.
Yeah. And I want to say one thing too, though, if I may. You know, we covered a lot of information in that first hour. I think it was a pretty powerful first hour, but I also want to say this. Yesterday's program, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for sending your very. Yesterday, I asked for people to send, what could be like a catchphrase or a name for what happened in Libya, because history. When we look back at history, we're going to be able to see that this was the fuse that lit the spark, or the fuse that lit the World War III. Or if you want to call it World War IV, I don't really care. But the coming global conflict, and I want to thank everyone for sending me that their catchphrases. Many were so creative and so great. Everyone was great, by the way. Everyone was just got my juices going and thinking, "Wow, man, I never thought of it that way." But one thing I do want to mention is that what we're seeing right now. Things are happening right before our very eyes, but we're not seeing them. The level of deception, everything is the plans that have been in the works for hundreds, decades, and hundreds of years, and even maybe longer than that, thousands of years, they're unfolding before our very eyes. Yet we're not seeing them because it's hard. It's more difficult to see something that's hidden in plain sight. You know, the saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. Well, that's where we're at right now. You've got to know where to look. For example, just as one really quick example, and then I'll turn it back over to you, Joe. What's going on at the Denver airport? People say, well, nothing. No, of course, nothing. Well, no, look at the Denver airport. That's a perfect example. You see everything going on above ground. I mean, you see it's an airport. Yeah, it's an airport. But you don't see what's going on under the Denver airport. People look at you and say, come on, you know, what are you nuts?
No, do your own research on that one.
Just, yeah. And the last thing I want to say before I turn it back over to you, we mentioned this yesterday because of some audio difficulties, maybe this didn't come through. If I were to teach a class in listeners, you know, I would say, look, do some research because the game plan or the structure of the globalist has already been published. I mean, you can find it in various places, but one report in general, the report from Iron Mountain, download that, find it on the internet, download that, and keep it and look through it and read it and understand what it says.
Yeah.
Because that gives you the playbook.
There's also
parts of the playbook.
Global Governance 2025.
Yes.
You can go back to 1993 for the Rio Earth Summit and Agenda 20, the introduction of Agenda 21. There are many. Once you start digging, there is no there's no end to the rabbit hole.
That's right.
You never get enough information. You continue to find more. And right now, just as a side note, I am going through the charter of the Organization of American States. Now, this is...
That's right, the OAS, right?
Yeah. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, because I wasn't until I was reading a UN document, and they used the OAS, and I searched what that was and found this. And what this is treaties.
That's right.
And it talks about being integrating into the UN under international law.
Right. The organization, and folks, you can do your own research on this. The Organization of American States, OAS, it's really part of the United Nations. They have a charter. And now, what is that dated? Is there a date on that?
Yeah, this is...
Because...
let's see.
And it's subject to, I believe, subject to refinement, but it's a listing of multilateral treaties.
Yeah.
But it's important to understand what's going on here because, folks, we are being sold out under this sphere of global governance, and people don't get that concept. And they might look at you and say, "Oh, yeah, okay, I understand that this globalist," but no, it's more than that.
People need to understand too that it's not just a consolidation of the powers of the world, the money of the world, political powers of the world, money of the world. It is a beginning. It is the platform for the Antichrist.
Well, yes, ultimately, yes,
and the beast system.
Exactly.
Let's go to the phones. Area code 580 has been on hold the longest. We'll go there first. Area code 580.
580. You're on with Doug and Joe.
This is 580. Am I the only one?
That's you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
I've called in before, but I just love listening to you guys. I don't want to put you down by saying this, but I can just see you growing in boldness. Maybe you thought you were always bold, but I see you growing in boldness, and that just thrills me.
Well, thank
you. Joe, you just keep right on. I mean, if you can learn to speak faster, you can get in there with Steve Quayle. But you got to speed it up.
Oh, thank you.
But you were saying, Doug, that you didn't see anything stopping this. We know that Satan has a plan, and nothing will stop it, though, unless it's God's timing to stop it. God will stop it in His time.
Right.
And that's the only thing that will, because Satan has a plan. But and I believe it's a one-world government, he knows the Word. Satan knows the Word too.
Oh, sure.
And he has a counterfeit for everything. He wants a one-world government because he knows God will set up a one-world government. And so he is out to set his up with all of his little minions.
That's right.
But there's no fear because God said he would shorten those days.
Yes.
And
yes.
so at some point God will step in. In fact, all of this is God's plan. He sets up kings and he pulls them down. So this is all, in his plan. But more than knowing his plan, what gives me peace is knowing God's plan.
Oh, yes.
We can know Satan's plan and that'll give us fear. But if we go to the Word and see what God's plan is, then the peace comes. So that's just what I wanted to say, but I just so enjoy listening to you guys. And sometimes you'll say something that I just don't agree with, and I think, oh, no.
Well.
But then you just say so many things that are just right on. And maybe what you say that I don't agree with is right. I'm not saying I'm right in everything, but then you just come up with some things and I think, oh, wow, that's it,
Well, it's and I'll preface this by saying we could very well at times be totally incorrect, but it's done with love and it's done with ignorance on our part to the extent where we don't have all the facts, or it's an opinion that really hasn't evolved yet, I suppose. But you were talking about doesn't make it to speak up for God doesn't make you a wimp. No, it's the real men that stand up for God. That's right.
And the more boldness you have, of course, wisdom comes. And I think about you, Joe. You say, well, it doesn't always come out the way I meant for it to.
Yes.
Well, who does? I mean, but you just start taking baby steps, and then you take bigger steps, and then you just get more adept at it. But it's not you; it's God doing it through you.
That's so right. That's so correct. It's not us. See, because if it was us, I guarantee you, we would screw it up so bad, at least me. I'd screw it up so bad, you wouldn't even recognize it on the other end. But
I wanted to tell Joe real fast before I get off that scripture maybe he was talking about a while ago might be Luke 6:26. Woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you.
Oh, how great is that?
Yeah.
Because they did the false prophets, see, but they wanted to be told lies. They wanted the false prophets to lie to them. They killed the real prophets because they didn't want to hear the truth. And so when men, it's talking about men in the world, speak well of you, beware. The ones that will speak well of you they're not praising you, they're praising God's work in you. And we all give praise to God. And so I just praise God for you. You guys just keep on.
Well, thank you so very much, and we're growing together, both Joe and I, and certainly we hope we can help others as well. So, well, God bless you. Thank you so much for your call.
And the bolder you get, you're going to get Satan's attention. So you got to watch out for that.
Okay, well, we're so warned. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, lucky enough, we have the Lord on.
Okay, I'll hang up and let other callers in.
All right.
Good night.
Bless
Good night.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right, we are going to go to our friend, Braveheart Radio host, John. John, you're on
Patriarch
air.
of Braveheart Radio. How are you, sir?
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Good evening, sir.
First, I want to offer a very heartfelt congratulations to you guys. I don't know if you monitor the numbers in your chat room, but they are consistently approaching 400 users in the chat room. When you guys first started out, 40 was a good number. And you guys are doing this on your own, and I applaud you for that.
Well,
Bravo.
thanks. Thank you.
Well, one correction, John, and thank you for the kind words. It's not on our own.
Yeah, that's true.
But I understand what you're saying. It is definitely, we could not do this without you and the rest of the listeners out there that promote our show. I mean, you have us on your radio show. You promote our show to people you know. So many of our listeners do. And it is really them, and especially the Lord. If this is, if we are doing right by Him, then He will bless this show with the listeners.
That's right.
Amen. Now, you guys were talking earlier about leadership, and leadership is a very important quality in someone, and I'm not ashamed to say I admit my shortcomings. I am not a leader, and as a result of that, I am actively seeking out people that I can trust to lead. And there's an organization spread around the country, you may have heard of them, called the 3%ers.
No.
Okay. The 3%ers, I'll give you a brief history. It was roughly 3% of the population that fought the Revolutionary War.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Yes, go on, John. Yep.
Okay. And the 3%ers have this credo, if you will, that simply says build tribe. And it refers to people, families, communities coming together and basically being prepared together for whatever is coming. And if you can get enough people to build a tribe, natural leaders are going to come out. They're going to rise above.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That comes with a caveat, and that is, be careful who you elevate to that position.
But John, you're a leader by simply cultivating that tribe or that group of like-minded people. By default, I suspect, or perhaps you by definition a leader. So don't undersell yourself, because everyone listening to this program is a leader. Because especially the people who listen to us live, they're leaders right now, like you are, because you're looking for that nugget of information or that information to help you make decisions, to help you. So, yeah, I mean, but we are, everyone listening to this are part of that 3%. The ones that refused, like in the Revolutionary War, that were actively refusing the oppression by England. So yes.
And I would encourage everyone to seek out information about the 3%ers. These guys, they are not playing around. They are, they're deadly serious.
You mean the
what's going on?
Well, yeah,
3%ers.
Yeah.
There is an event. There is an event coming up in Washington, D.C. the Sunday before before Election Day. They're getting as many people as I can. Sorry, I'm tired. They're getting as many people together as they can to go to Washington, D.C. with empty sidearm holsters and empty rifle slings, all wearing T-shirts that say, "This is the last time I come unarmed."
Interesting.
And the message that they want to send, I mean, it's pretty obvious. This is it. This is your last chance. And they're supposed to be sending, or they're supposed to be delivering a message to a United States senator. His name escapes me. Who's taking delivery? I'm sorry, I don't remember who, but he has agreed to take this and do with it, what needs to be done. Keep in mind that most of us that are involved in this entire movement, the vast majority of us don't want any shots fired.
Well, who does, John? Really?
Right.
When it comes right down at the end of the day, who does?
And that's what I was going to ask you. The way that sounded is like next time they're coming with them locked and loaded.
Well, I think that's more of it sends a message at this point.
Right. And I hope
it is a message, but I believe that the 3%ers as an organization will back up their words if it becomes necessary.
Well,
that could be a bad thing too.
Well,
I mean, I'm certainly not advocating anything that might come of it, but it's just one more indication of how people are absolutely, totally, completely fed up with what's going on.
And John, let me ask you this: could it be possible that these 3%ers and their message has been infiltrated to the point where they get people like those people to fire the first shot, so the other side doesn't have to?
Anything is possible, and I believe that could happen, because as a militiaman, the first word in my vocabulary is defense. Take no aggressive action, and of course that's what the powers that be want to happen, is for some idiot moron that claims to be one of me to take the first shot.
Right. I mean,
either literally or figuratively.
Well, look how the media paints the various shooters. You know, they're just foaming at the mouth to equate the theater shooter, you know, with the militia or with the skinheads, right, or with whatever, some Tea Party group even.
Well, they had Gerald Loeffner painted as a Tea Partier within the first hour.
Right, exactly. They're looking for that opportunity, and I'm really sure that they're going to be afforded that opportunity at some point, at which time that'll give them the ability or the reason, the cause, the just cause in their mind to go ahead and put the clamps down on the very people that are the patriotic, carriers and superintendents of the Constitution of the United States. So, we have to watch that.
And there was a person in the chat room before the program started tonight. I'm not going to say who it is, but he seemed like he or she seemed like they were pretty well kind of down in the dumps, pessimistic and everything else, and spoke of the tree of liberty and how it had been long ago cut down and turned into toilet paper. And unfortunately, figuratively speaking, I believe that to be true. But I want to give everybody a word of inspiration here. As long as one person breathes that believes in liberty and freedom, then liberty and freedom will live on. Absolutely.
I believe that. I think we have scriptural references to, look at Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, if we want to take this to the level of Scripture, looking for 10 righteous people in Sodom. I mean, it's the same principle as well. But we know where there's life, there's hope, and where there's breath, there's still hope. So we have to maintain that hope, and it's kind of like being, John, if you were in a jail cell. And maybe this is not the right metaphor or analogy to use, but if you're in a jail cell, if you were being held against your will or kidnapped or something, what do? Do you sit there passively? No, you look for avenues of escape or alternatives to better your situation. That's kind of what we're doing, in a way, In a
way.
Yeah, and I got to say, yeah, I mean, and would we not? Are we going to just be submissively oppressed? No, of course not. But we're going to do it in a responsible manner, and of course, with God on our side, with God as our guide. So that's
absolutely.
That's how it goes. At least that's how I see it. So, but John, interesting. 3%ers. Okay, well, we're going to have to keep that in mind, and that's the Sunday before Election Day. You said, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They have a symbolic twist to it. They're probably going to get a lot more, but they were aiming for 300, as in the movie The 300.
Oh yeah.
They were aiming for 300, but I'm sure they're going to get a lot more than that. One of our co-hosts, Mike, is actually going to be going. He's going to the march.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I wish I could go, but I just can't get the time off work.
Well, John,
I would be there.
Sounds like you need some rest and I wish you the best. Anything else before we cut you loose?
One more thing, just kind of a heads up. I sent this to you in Skype last night. I'm not sure if you got it or not, but there was an author on Fox News, the morning show, recently that was talking about jihadist training camps inside the United States, and I know you guys are real big on the Muslim threat and everything, and I just wanted to throw that out there to see if maybe you wanted to pursue that at all.
Yeah, John, we got that. Thank you very much for sending that. And, there are Muslim training camps across the United States. One faction in particular is Jamaat al-Fukra, led by Sheikh Mubarak Ali Jilani. Muslims of America, that, in fact, folks, Sheikh Jilani has a religious statement published against me. It's on the Muslims of America website, and he's not too happy with me. And just for context, okay, so folks know who Jilani is. Jilani is a resident of Lahore, Pakistan. He was the man who Daniel Pearl was attempting to interview or on his way to see when he was kidnapped and beheaded. Wall Street Journal reporter Daniel Pearl. And the FBI has since, of course, said, hey, Jilani had nothing to do with it. He was a dupe, a useful dupe. But, I still have my reservations about that as well. So we've been, in fact, we had gone into one of the training camps at the base of the Catskills, John, and I should republish that report on our website because it does have photographs of a school bus that has bullet holes all through it.
Nice. Yeah, I'd like to see that report.
Yes. In fact, we submitted it to the Department of Justice after we went in there in 2005 or 2006. I don't recall which year. And we were cited in the Regional Organized Crime Bulletin as being the authors of that report. And I got to tell you, neighbors hearing gunfire, automatic gunfire.
Yeah.
It's caches of weapons at these locations. Now, since our report was published, I would urge caution of everyone. These camps have moved. A lot of them have moved. A lot of them have gone into, for instance, the one in Islamburg in Hancock, Virginia, has gone into, been absorbed by a location in Virginia. So the information, which is 5 or 6 years old, is not accurate at this time, but it was not up to date. But
I'd like to leave with this one rhetorical question: why is it that the government is after me because I talk about freedom and liberty, and yet these jihadist camps are seemingly left alone, knowing that they're there? And I'll leave with that rhetorical question.
Thanks, Sean. Good question.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
God bless.
Get some rest. Rhetorical, indeed. I mean, it's, why is it? Excuse me. We have photographs taken by camp members of these jihadist camps sitting, breaking bread with FBI agents. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, what's that all about?
Yeah, who knows? Why is Anwar al-Awlaki at the Pentagon? Why was he at the Pentagon, then later killed by a drone strike with the sun? Why did we fund Al Qaeda back in the 1980s with billions of dollars in weapons? And why did we fund them after? All throughout since then.
Again, the layers upon layers of deception.
Yeah, even with 9/11 happening. We got 25 minutes left of this hour before we bring our guest on, so let's just keep hitting the calls. Area code 304. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
That's me. Hi, guys.
Hello there.
I'm out in Girl South on the chat room. Remember when y'all were talking? Well, first I want to say that y'all do a wonderful, wonderful job. You're very informative for me. I found out about y'all through the article you wrote about Jason where they came and hauled him off because some guy in New York called as his friend and reported him, and the police came and took him away.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. And if he's out there listening, there's at least one good thing because it brought in some more people because it was when that Doug, I think was, not Doug, but Brandon was the Marine that they took. I learned about that on Facebook, and then I was directed to you, and so then I learned about your show, and from that I learned about Steve Quayle, and yeah. But earlier when y'all were talking about giving away your food and helping people out and stuff, it reminded me of something that was just too much to try to type in the chat room. But have y'all ever heard of Corrie ten Boom?
Yes, of course.
Right. Okay. Well, when I was like 11 years old, my mother read that book to me, The Hiding Place, and there was a part in it. I've never forgotten that book. Every Christian should read that book, and really made me appreciate my freedom. And even as a young child, it made me love the sky, because she talked about how I think it was her sister loved the sky, and they didn't get to see the sky for like 2 years. But she had a little thing of vitamin oil, like for vitamins, and she would share that with everybody in her camp. And she would give everybody a dose of that every day, and it never ran out for the whole 2 years she was in the concentration camp, until the day that she got out. She ran out of oil when she gave it to the last person. It was the last drop of the bottle, and that was the day she got out.
Wow.
And it's like that story in the Bible where the woman helped the prophet and her oil never ran out. And I just wanted to tell everybody, you can't outgive God. If you've got food and somebody's hungry, how can you call yourself a Christian and let them go starve? You've got to help them. And God's not going to let you starve because you gave your food away and helped somebody.
That's right.
I just wanted to call in and say that.
And
y'all do a wonderful, wonderful job.
Well, thank you so much for that vote of confidence, and that's an inspiring story. And you're right; everyone should read or become familiar with the story of Corrie ten Boom. Do a simple search on the internet and just find out about her. I mean, what an inspiring story!
Yeah, absolutely. And Fox's Book of Martyrs, and Jesus Freaks, and Jesus Freaks 2. We've been spoiled here in America because we have not experienced any kind of tribulation, any kind of where they haul you off and do horrible things to you. And I think that's part of the reason why everybody's latched onto this pre-trib rapture. And I don't know if that's, I've studied it. I have no idea whether it's going to be pre-trib, pre-wrath, post. I don't know. My faith isn't hinged on that. But even if it's not, it doesn't mean we're not going to have to go through bad stuff. Sure. And you shouldn't have your faith hinged on that. Your faith should be hinged on Jesus and what he did. And, that's what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said. They said, God is able to, see us through, but even if he doesn't, we still will not bow. And that's the way we have to be. We have to make up our minds.
Exactly. Wonderful.
Yeah, you make some great points, especially about the rapture. I feel the same way as you do. I am not going to change or anything I do, regardless of how I feel or what I believe on that specific subject. It should not change anything about the way we live, the way we worship, the way we do things. And you're exactly right, caller.
Well, God bless you.
Anything else you'd like to say? Any other questions before we let you go?
No, just I want to thank y'all for all you do, and we pray for you. And, I do have a prayer request. If everybody listening would please pray for me and my husband. He's a disabled vet, and the woman at the VA saw him and told him she thought he was too young to be on disability. So she took it upon herself to have him recertified, and when he came in, she was the one that did it, and she lied and said he has full use of his knees, and he doesn't, and they cut it. And we've got 3 children, and this is West Virginia. There are no jobs here. We are number 50 in job growth. And
you said your name was Mountain Girl in the chat room?
Well, my name is Samantha, and my husband's name is Rick.
All right.
Samantha and Rick. Samantha, tell Rick that he will be in our prayers. And folks, you heard this from Samantha. Her husband Rick is having a very difficult time. Of course, with the system that's the deck is stacked against the veterans right now, and let's keep Rick in our. Let's say an extra special prayer tonight for Rick and for whatever we can, whatever God can do.
That their needs be met.
Yes, exactly. And Samantha, know that you're not alone. You know, I mean, not for 1 minute. You're not alone. You're part of an extended family, and you're in our prayers. And you and Rick are both in our prayers.
Thank you very much. It was my son last week at his opinion, if you remember. You said you hoped my son had a happy birthday in his opinion, and he did well.
I remember that, and so he made it out okay. Everything was fine, and he's.
Yeah, he had a birthday supper tonight. We weren't able to do it earlier, but he wanted chili, so we made him chili for supper, and I'm going to make him a cake tomorrow. And yeah, we went to the school and got all his homework today, so he doesn't go back till Friday.
Oh boy. That's okay though. Great. That's so great. Well, give him a hug from us. Wish him a happy birthday, and
we will be praying for you, and we will be in hoping our audience will pray for you.
Yes.
And stay positive.
Absolutely.
Stay in the Word, and God bless you and your family.
And thank you.
Thanks
thank
for
you.
calling.
God bless you. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. All right. Wow. How great is that? Joe, you're going to have to do the, or no, I guess I can do that, right?
You take care of the phone.
All right. You're going to let me do this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking at the times here. We're going to go to area code 610. Area code 610, you're up. That's you.
Hello?
Yes, that's you. Area code 610.
Oh, okay. You got John from Pennsylvania.
Hi, John.
Hey, I just want to thank you guys for being out there. Steve Quayle brought me down to you guys because I follow him and I listen to him every time he's on, and I run into two great guys now, Doug and Joe out there.
I just looked behind me. I looked behind me. I was wondering who you're talking about. Two great guys. But, well, thank you. Yeah, and Steve Quill, God bless him. Man, that guy is a dynamo, isn't he? Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, I have talked to Craig Everson back in 2010, and the Lord gave me a message to give to him at that time, and it was like, time's up. And I didn't know exactly what it meant. But it came to me this year from him in 2012 that there's no turning back.
Wow. Caller, what do you,
and then
what do you
go ahead.
Now, what do you see happening? You know, when you say time's up and there's no turning back, what do you see taking place here?
Well, we're headed to the last kingdom of this age, the kingdom of the Antichrist. See, the Lord has called me to be a watchman, and I've been watching for 40 years.
Wow. Okay.
And what I see now is so unbelievable. It's so huge. I can't see anything but.
It's
and Isabel, go ahead.
No, we opened our show with the analogy of the elephant behind the curtain. It's so huge that we actually have to take a few steps back to really appreciate the enormity of it, you know?
That's what I mean. It's enveloping the whole earth.
Yes.
We're going to global government. We know that. And we're going to go to a cashless society. That could be coming sooner than we know, because we know they're destroying our dollar.
Yes.
I mean, wow. It's nuts. I mean, we're living in a state of total insanity.
Yeah.
Exactly. Caller, if you don't mind me asking this question, do you mind stating how old you are?
I'm 70. I'll be 70 this month, and I'm looking so forward to it.
Okay. Well,
I can't believe the Lord gave me all this time.
Well,
I was an alcoholic for 20 years.
Wow.
In 1995, he told me, not in words, but I understood that if I stopped drinking, I was going to die. And he extended my life, and I'm hoping to live to his coming. That's my hope.
Yeah, I think we all hope that, don't we? I mean,
yeah.
But you served as a watchman, so in your 70 years of life. Now you've seen Vietnam up close and personal. You've never seen. Have you ever seen anything like this before? Like this time we're living in? I mean,
there's never been a time like this, and there never will be again.
I believe that. Okay. Wow.
This is it. This is the big one. We're about to go into the tribulation along this line somewhere. And I don't know how far off it is, but we're closing in, because what I really noticed in 2008, when they had that first bailout, I said, wow, these people are really bold now. They're moving. And what I noticed, we shifted into overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
And then when Obama come in, he took it a step further, and I don't know if there's going to be another election or not. I had a gut feeling that there wasn't going to be, but we're closing in on this election awful fast, and that's what I noticed. What you're going to see, time is going to keep on continuing to speed up.
Yeah, exactly. I believe that, and you can almost feel it as the sand in the hourglass reaches the end. It appears as if the sand goes faster through that hourglass, and I think that's where we're at right now. So
yes, it is. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I can't believe it. It feels like 2012 just started, and we're into October already.
Yeah, and people say, well, as you get older, time seems to go faster, but I think it's going faster for everyone.
It is, yeah, because many of people I talk to, and I've been looking for people in my neighborhood, and I'm having trouble finding people, because I want to try and get people together in the neighborhood that we can help out, because when this thing hits, I mean, we went over the cliff in 2008, and we've been in free fall ever since, and when we hit, man, we're not going to bounce.
I guarantee you that's absolutely true. And the young people that are they've got their heads in their iPods and their iPhones and their games, their virtual reality, man, it's going to come as a huge shock to those people, as well as the people that haven't been paying attention. So you keep looking for those people in your area. And thank you for being a leader and a watchman, because we're all appointed to be that watchman. And thank you for doing it with integrity and character. I really appreciate that. Is there anything else before we cut you loose?
Well, what I really find a big problem in is the people that are in the churches. They don't know nothing. And then, you were talking a little bit about the pre-trib and all that stuff and all that. Well, I'll tell you the truth. In Matthew 24:29 to 31, the Lord says He's coming back after the tribulation of those days. And that's what I stick with. And it's been a big help to me, because in 2009, when He told me He was going to purge the church through the fire, I said, wow, Lord, I understand. And that's what it's needed. The church is going to be spotless without a wrinkle, but it's not now. And that's what the Lord's about to do. He's going to purge it.
Wow. Well, I really can't argue with that. I think that there's going to have to be you're right, a purging of, and in process. I think it's already in process of the evil that's infiltrated the church at all levels. And
yes.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. That's what I mean. They're everywhere.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, John, for your call. I would just want to wish you the best, and I hope you have. I mean, you keep listening and call us on your birthday. We'll wish you a happy birthday. We'll sing to you on air.
Thank you. I will.
Right.
Yeah, it's the 24th.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not too far away. God bless you, my friend.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. God bless you too.
All right.
So long now.
So long.
Take care.
Wow, that's great. Let's move along here. I know that we've had callers on hold for quite some time. Let's go to the 317 area code. 317, you're on with Doug and Joe. How are you?
Hi, Doug and Joe. This is Chad again. I talked to you, I think it was a week ago. Yeah,
man. Yeah, it's good to hear from you.
Yeah. Good to hear from you guys too, man. I've been listening to you. It's incredible. But I sent you that email, and I heard you talking, and it goes into all this. But I wanted to talk about this predictive programming again, more in depth a little bit.
Yes.
Now, and I felt your frustration yesterday because it's hard to get through the first sentence talking to some people, and you can just hear them roll their eyes before the sentence out. But I'm almost 40 years old, okay? So I'm a grown man. I got 5 kids. I got 1 in the Marines. And for, I don't know, a year and a half, all I could do was watch this Harry Potter series, okay? Now,
wow, okay.
I'm a grown man. I'm a grown man. My wife's going, what are you doing? It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I said, I don't know. There's something here. Well, I'll just break it down real quick for these people. You can look at the first 3 books, the first 3 in the series. It is Israel. It's about Israel's inception. His birth, the scar, it's his inception. Now, what really hit me is I wasn't even aware of predictive programming up until about, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago that I ever heard the term.
Okay.
Now, I'm watching. Okay, anybody who's familiar with the series or watched the movies or the books, it's like a bomb. I was like, wow, this is it. I mean, I can't believe I'm seeing it right here, what I'm seeing. And then I got to seeing what the rest of the series had to say, and it just leveled me. But in that book, there's, at the start of the one that's called the, I'm going to forget it now, but it's the Goblet of Fire.
Ah, yes.
It starts off with a major event. It's the major Quidditch Cup where all the people are gathered for this game. The whole world is gathered. At the end of it, there's an attack. And then you see this evil dude put this sign in the air. Okay? That was the Olympics. And I said this in July. I sent you the email, the original one. I said this after the Olympics. There will be an attack before the new moon. Now, I wasn't aware of the Paralympics at the time, so I got that wrong. But if you go back and look, it was after the Paralympics ended, before the new moon, in that week, 1 week of time on 9/11, that the attack took place. It also said, not only will this attack take place, but the Christians and the Jews will be the ones who are blamed. It'll be quickly found out that it's an insane accusation, but it won't matter. And it will be the catalyst, as you said, like lemmings on your website, that leads all this into place.
And you know what? I've got that email. I printed that email out, Chet.
And it was...
Yes.
It was even down to the weather. Now, keep in mind, this book series was written 15 years ago, and who knows when it was inception was.
Hmm.
How did they get the weather right?
You know what I'm
saying? How did they get the weather right? How did they get this stuff right? If we're just going to sit this way. Now, now, if you look on to that movie, there are 2 peoples who are invited to this tournament. Who are they? The French and the Russians. Who did NATO send to help Israel just a few months ago? The French. Russians already there. Now, I went through this, and I could line up the characters for you. Hogwarts is Israel proper. It's Israel. Harry is Israel. He's got the scar in his temple. What is the scar on the Temple Mound?
Ah.
You know, I mean,
okay.
It's the Dome of the Rock. Okay?
Of course.
He's half-blood. He's pure blood and half-blood. You got the pure blood Ron, and you got the Muggle mind. Now, the reason I'm saying this and why I want to get out to it is because it's overlapped. And if you got the Quibbler, which is alternative media, you got Rita Skeeta, who's this main. I mean, it's all there for anybody to see. You want to know who the U.S. is? Crazy guy got the half leg and the wobbly eye. I mean, I could lay it all out. The only reason I'm saying this, folks, is because there's going to be a come a time. Doug, anybody else is listening, Steve, listening to me out there, your websites, after this thing goes crazy, will be left up. And I'll tell you why. There are going to be people who, after this crap hits the fan, who are going to wake up and realize, you know what, these guys were right. They're going to go look for that information. That information is going to be a trap. After this crap goes south, it's a trap. It's so they can trace it down. So, what I'm saying is, if you can't keep your Bible, if you don't have it memorized in your heart, you can easily, it'll give you of what's going on. So much more to that. And you can call me crazy, you can call me insane or whatever, but you got to understand, these people didn't think it was crazy when they put it together. They spent millions of dollars, thousands of man-hours, down to the weapons.
First of all, your phone's cutting out a little bit, so some of what you're saying I didn't catch, but I've never seen Harry Potter. But the predictive programming, you using that as an example, I mean, you're exactly right. We see now on TV, they have a show on NBC about cannibalism, pretty much promoting cannibalism. They have the shows Revolution.
Well, I mean, look at the movie like the Hunger Games.
We saw the MTV martial law commercial.
Right, and that's in an essence, that's an idea or something, you know, like that. But this goes so much further. It goes into what is going to take place. It goes along. Look at that series, watch that series, and see what it says is coming next. That's what they say are coming next. That's what they believe is coming next. Now, these guys, you're talking about these guys, what is their motive? What, you know, you said in an earlier show, what is their motive for doing all this? Well, it's a selfish game, but you know what? The one they're serving under, do you think he really is going to let anybody take any glory but himself?
Oh, of course not.
The adversary? Right. You know, after he fulfills his purpose, they'll fall into the pit they made.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yes.
I mean, and you got to think about how many thousands of years, in hundreds of years, these people have been at it, and that they've gone and passed on themselves. So what motive did they have not being able to see this come to fruition? It's a much bigger behind the scenes than what it is that we're seeing.
And I think you hit the nail on the head too, because what you're describing is really the essence of the most evil versus the good. I mean, you know, at the heart of it all, that's what it is. It's Luciferian versus the God of the Bible.
You know, go out there and watch. Go to Steve Quayle's website. You promoted that. But here's another one. David Flynn, God bless him, you know, he went on earlier this year. Watch his stuff on YouTube. There's another website, testeverything.net. If you don't do anything or hear a word I say, go to testeverything.net. Okay? Go to our teachings. Go to End Times videos, video number 4.
Okay.
Watch it. It's just another one of those things. It's probably about an hour long.
Okay. You're cutting out.
I'll let you go.
Okay, you're cutting out, but we will do that. Thank you, my friend. God bless you.
We've reached the top of the hour. We're going to take a quick commercial break and come back
with our
guest, Dr. Philip Sharp, author of Not in the Wind, Earthquakes, or Fire. You're not going to want to miss that interview. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these short messages. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Tuesday, October 9th, 2012.
No, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for sharing your time with us, your evening with us, whether you're listening to this live or in the car or at home. God bless you.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your number one priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com, or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's the commercial for Freeze Dry Guy. If you go to HomelandSecurityUS.com, that's HomelandSecurityUS.com, click on the banner for Freeze Dry Guy. He's got a ton of October specials, just a number of October specials. In fact, tell him Doug and Joe sent you, and I guarantee you, you will be outfitted with some additional niceties there with by mentioning our name. That's a Freeze Dry Guy. So go to HomelandSecurityUS.com and click on the banner. Enter that way, and if you have any questions, give him a call. Him and the staff always willing to spend some time, tailor packages or even the littlest of things for your needs. And while I have your attention, I would like to say, have a great response from MindRegard. I've gotten emails from people saying, hey, you know what, that MindRegard stuff, that nootropic stuff or whatever, however you pronounce it, that really works. That's good. I feel a difference. Folks, go to MindRegard.com or go to HomelandSecurityUS.com. Click on the banner for MindRegard. I got to tell you something. I've been taking it faithfully, and my wife even said, "You've been taking that stuff because I noticed I noticed a couple of different things about you." And I said, "Yes, this is one thing. In fact, I take this before I even take my blood pressure medicine, which I'm not recommending to do it, but I got to tell you, this stuff works. MindRegard. Again, go to HomelandSecurityUS.com. Click on the link to MindRegard and try them out. Fantastic stuff.
You better wake up fast and listen to this, America. The Obama campaign has launched attack squads disguised as truth teams dedicated to intimidating and silencing all political dissent carried over the internet that criticizes the Marxist Obama. Truth Squad specifically focused on covering up Obama's endless trail of lies, corruption, and subversion, and using the Gestapo power of our own government to police and censor the internet and shut down websites that dare to carry the real truth about Obama's Marxist coup. Remember the names of these Gestapo-style agencies at work right there in your neighborhood. KeepingHisWord.com, KeepingGOPHonest.com, and AttackWatch.com. KGB, SS, and Gestapo-style police-state gangster organizations at work to silence the important voices of patriot dissent, some of which have already been shut down by Obama's orders. Adolf Hitler would have been proud. We're the 21st century Tea Party patriots.
Doug Hagmann. One guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Yeah, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, listeners worldwide, to a very special third hour of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. We're pleased to be bringing on a very special guest. His name is Philip Sharp.
He's on with us now.
But by way of introduction, folks, let me tell you about him. He's served for 20 years in the United States Army Infantry, during which he graduated from Ranger School. This guy's jumped out of more airplanes than more good airplanes than most people have ridden in. He's served as a drill sergeant. He's worked in a variety of locations, to include South Korea, the jungles of Panama. He deployed to Iraq 3 different times, from 2003 to 2010. That's 7 years, in case you need to do the math. He's published articles in War Game Simulations in Strategy and Tactics magazine, and is currently he's a contributing columnist for Modern War magazine. Philip is retired, by the way, from active duty service and now lives in West Virginia with his wife, Heather, and his 4 children, where they are creating an all-natural farm and serving in church ministries. With that, excuse me, I swallowed my coffee wrong. With that, welcome to the program, Mr. Philip Sharp.
It's good to be on the air. Thank you.
It's great to have you. Now, you are the author of, Joe, you were the author of a book. Philip,
Not in the Wind,
yes,
Earthquakes, or Fire.
Yes. An interesting title, by the way, of a book. But welcome, anyway, Philip, for taking the time for this interview. Tell us, Mr. Sharp, where does your story begin?
The story begins, it's from 2006, 2007, and it covers basically my second deployment all through Iraq. It was an extended deployment. We were extended for the surge, and it covers most of that time frame there.
Okay. All right. So what you're about to provide us with is going to be a first-hand account. What's your book all about?
Primarily, it's perspective of the Iraq War at that time, from the ground level through the perspective of a ground combat soldier, which, in my opinion, those perspectives don't get much. You don't see many of those around. That's one of the reasons I wanted to write this book.
Okay.
There's also a portion towards the end where it talks about the human cost of the war, not just the obvious of the casualties, which are a cost, but also beyond that with the soldiers, especially after the events. And then there's a spiritual element basically all throughout the story as well.
All right, let me ask you this, Mr. Sharp. Were you like me after 9/11? You saw the towers fall and you saw the carnage that was, that took place. Were you like a neocon? Because I'm a self-proclaimed rehabilitated neocon to the extent where, look, I understand what happened on 9/11 to the extent that I possibly can, but I was all for, hey, let's bomb the heck out of these people. Let's take our pound of flesh and let's go after it. But then, once you start unveiling the pulling back the layers of the curtain, you start realizing there's more to this story than this cut and dry, black and white issue of us being bombed and us taking us going out and attacking those who attacked us. So, are you like that? I mean, with your deployments and seeing what you've seen and the spirituality which you've encountered. I mean, were you like that in the beginning? Like, let's go get them. I'm ready. Take me. Let me go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In the beginning, it was actually I was I was a little anxious because at the time I was serving as a drill sergeant at Fort Benning, and I was afraid I was going to get trapped there, according to mobilization plans,
right,
and continue to put out soldiers while they went and deployed. I would stay, and I really didn't want that. And I was all for jumping in there and doing what we had to do. And you're right. I mean, and I think that was most of the military's attitude at the time, because you prepare for that for years and years, and now it's here. You're going to go do it.
Well, yeah, of course.
After a while, the years add up, and get a little bit wiser on certain things, and get a little more tempered.
Well, okay. Now your book is called "Not in the Wind, Earthquake, or Fire," and it's, as I understand it, this is primarily based on your journal that you kept during at least a 1-year period from 2006 to 2007, but it covers about 15 months of your deployment. What's it all about? What's this book all about?
Well, the book is about, originally I wrote it, I just wanted to write our story and what we did, and because I didn't feel like we were getting much of an honest shake on what was being told. And as I was writing, and I was trying to remember from my head what was going on, I would keep referring back to my journal,
right,
to remember things. And then I realized, well, why don't I, if I've already written this down once, why don't I just put it into the book? And then I'll just write the background, things around the journal to explain it, for the reader who wasn't there. And, it was a pretty good, solid skeleton. But reading through all that journal was like redoing the deployment again. And, then the reasons for writing it, began to change because, now it's not just a story anymore. Now it's like, I want to set certain things straight. I want to give certain people credit where they should have gotten it. I want to, bring up what wrongs were going on. And towards the end, I just, I figured I need to give glory to God throughout all of it as well by the time I did finish this book.
Okay. And folks, you can visit Mr. Sharp's website at windearthquakefire.com. That's windearthquakefire.com. But Mr. Sharp, explain what did you see over there? I mean, wait, before you even get into that, what's this war all about? I mean, from your perspective as a combat soldier, a drill sergeant, somebody who's lived this, gone over there, God knows what you've seen, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But really, what the heck are we doing right now? What are we doing? What's this country doing? What's going on here?
I've been to Iraq 3 times, so I can only speak of what I saw in Iraq. I'm not sure how things are going in Afghanistan, but I saw some good and some bad in Iraq. I watched us constantly reenact the same failed tactics and strategies over and over again as a military, which is frustrating. And
it would be.
The civilian population, suffering in the process between two beasts trying to rip them apart. The insurgency and then us. Each demanding its loyalty. It got pretty tough. But I did see some good things too. I mean, I know during the invasion, that entire nation was hungry, and they were generally happy to see us. And I saw more American flags there than I did back home. And I don't know where they hid them the whole time, but they had them. And over time, then you saw just hungry people everywhere, and the kids were starving, didn't know what candy was. They were scared of anything and everything, but they were genuinely happy to see us. And when we liberated that country, which I believe we did at that time, newspapers all of a sudden started flourishing. Satellite TVs were installed everywhere. Food was pouring into the country. It was pretty good to see at the time. And my last deployment was in 2010. And when I left there, we were closing down combat operations. That deployment was probably more peaceful to me as far as, there was no violence around us like there was all the time prior. I know there's some progress there, but there was definitely a lot of heartache at the same time.
Well, let me ask you this, from your perspective as a soldier. I mean, here you are, you witnessed the events of 9/11. You're operating as a drill sergeant. You're a military man by profession. I suppose that's safe to say. But looking at this, you described this liberation of Iraq. Didn't we as a nation? And I'm asking this not antagonistically. And I please don't misinterpret my question. But weren't we in some way, shape, or form, the administration of this country, responsible for some of that oppression of the Iraqi people? Through sanctions.
My perception is, to some degree, the world is at fault. No one can, and everybody had their hands in the pot, bringing the scenario about as they did.
Okay.
There's a lot of what-if scenarios, but, the people were starving at that time because we stupidly gave the food to the same man we were trying to get rid of, who then used that food to control his population.
Well, that's...
in exchange for oil, which was... Who knows how that racket went, but,
okay. All right.
We should starve a population for one man, to get rid of him when there's other means to do so.
Go ahead.
You stated that you wanted to call out some people where it was due and give credit to others.
I'm kind of interested to hear who you're going to call out.
Where it was due.
Yeah.
What are the problems? Who maybe created them, and who are the people also that deserve credit that you were referring to?
Tell us who the good guys are in this whole thing, and who the bad guys are.
the good and bad guys.
Yeah. Well, let's get some context here.
Okay. Well, I'll try to put context like I want. Maybe I stated that wrong, but here, let me clarify then. What I said, like I state in the forward of my book that I decided not to use people's real names if they were of higher rank than myself.
Okay.
Because I don't want to give the impression of slander or I'm out to just run a buck campaign. Right. I just wanted to tell the story as accurately as I can without trying to, create, what like I'm personally going after people, because that was definitely not my intent. But that being said,
disclaimers aside, go ahead.
The actions are portrayed of what was going on, what we thought of it, and how ridiculous things were at the time. And I didn't take that out. That was left there. As far as the names themselves, I didn't want to put it in there to do a personal attack, but, I think these are issues that we have to look at as a country and an army, learn from it. And since we're in the habit of finding fights to jump into, be ready for the next one. Better off than we were the last time.
Well, okay, but we still didn't get some. I understand your desire not to slander anybody, but we still don't know who the good guys and bad guys are. So, okay, let's go with the other side first. Saddam Hussein, obviously a dictator, an oppressor of the population, bad guy, right? I mean, obviously.
Yeah, right. He was. I would say he was your classic, despot.
Okay.
A tyrant, and he kept the people under his thumb. And those who were close to him in a circle, they loved him, kind of like the mob, But outside that circle, you loved them in public when you had to, and, you had to say it. And otherwise, there was no love for him.
Okay. All right. Now, what about on our side? I mean, I've seen arguments, and Joe, too, we've seen arguments that we should have never gone to Iraq, that Iraq had no connection to 9/11, and what the hell are we doing there? Excuse my language, but what really, why attack Iraq? It seemed like right after 9/11, Cheney, Wolfowitz, all these people had a plan. Look, we need to go into Iraq.
Yeah. And later backtrack, stating they had no evidence nor reason to do it in the first place.
So, I mean, I understand, sir, you were following orders, obviously, and Afghanistan was the primary theater of operation for rooting out the Taliban, if you will. But why Iraq, though? See, I'm coming back to this. Was it for oil? Was it for the spoils, or what was your take from the ground level, boots on the ground in Iraq? Did you ever ask yourself, what am I doing here?
At first, no. I didn't ask at all. I wanted to go, and I went because that's what I was in the Army to do, and
okay.
I didn't think much about it. To me, it was a privilege and an honor to go, and I went.
Okay.
I didn't, honestly, at the time, I didn't care what the reason was.
All right.
Later on, reflecting back, from my level, I can't really say I know all the reasons were there, but I know from the beginning towards the end, so I was there during the invasion, and then a middle tour during the surge, and then towards the end when we closed combat operations, and I've watched over those 6-7 years, Iraq change into a better country each time than when I was there from prior. To me, I don't know all the reasons of, I saw what everybody else saw on TV. I heard all the arguments that everybody else heard.
Right.
They were pretty convincing at the time. And to go back on that is pretty dishonest in my opinion, but I mean, if you disagree with it, then you should have said something.
Right. But, right. And it's easy for anyone to be a Monday morning quarterback. Believe me, I understand that. But knowing what you know now, do you think it was a natural progression for us to go? And I know I'm going off script here, but hey, why not? Knowing what you know now about world events, about the things. Were we right to go into Iraq? I mean, did they pose a threat to the United States, our security, our safety as a nation?
From what I understand at the time when we went in, they were a pretty big. I mean, I was in the Army I joined the Army just before that Saddam invaded Kuwait the first time.
Okay.
And I've been in the Army the entire time, and Saddam was just constantly picking a fight with us the entire time. Always firing at us, always launching something, issues with the chemical weapons. It's like he was begging for a fight. Were we justified? In hindsight, there's justifications for it. The truth is, war is ugly, and it crushes people. It makes a mess. There comes a point where it's hard to glorify, and nobody, any sane person really doesn't want it, perpetual war in their life. But
okay, well,
at the same time, what other options was there to do?
Well,
that could have been done.
Well, you mentioned the '91 invasion, the Desert Storm situation. Of course, we know the story now. April Gillespie, the meeting, and we also the incubator story. That was all fabricated. We know about that. With respect to Kuwait. So we look back in hindsight and realize that that particular operation was built in part, at least in part, on lies. But again, now you're a dutiful combat soldier, so you really cannot be held accountable for that, for the lies in which we're told. But that said, what did you see in Iraq? What did you see there? You went over there. You bombed things. You shot things. You broke things up, but then you brought peace too, in a sense. But what did you see personally? Was there anything that life-altering experiences do you have?
I would often get young soldiers, straight up basic, ask me similar questions, and I would often tell them that war is like one big boring existence. And it's just interrupted by sudden acts of violence that come out of nowhere. The image is there's like every day it's just constant, destruction and gunfire and explosions and whatnot. But most of it is just the dreary of your work every day, long hours, constant stress, and it wears you down. And then your mind goes numb, and then next thing you know, boom, you're knocked back into reality again. And it's like a continuous cycle like this. But when the violence comes, it's pretty intense. But then right after, it's like a drop again, and it's just monotony and dreary, and it just drags on. And this goes on and on. To sum it up, that would be it. It's just a dreary existence, really, on the ground. And then you have those moments where things really pick up.
When you say pick up, you're talking about combat. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, we'd be attacked by mortars or RPGs, or gunfire would go off, or a convoy be hit with IEDs, or whatever action, or sometimes the events would be civilians got hurt and we're looking for help and would come to us, or we had to go intervene between two arguing factions and help, bring it's not always just, in this type of scenario where it's not just straight conventional war, you have so many other factors that you have to tend to that, we normally don't think about.
Well, all right. Now, tell our listeners what they can find in your book. Obviously, this book is your, aside from the fact that this is a journal of your experiences while you were in country in Iraq, are there any life lessons in here? How about spiritual messages? What did you experience? Anything in terms of what kept you going? Obviously, you were over there, not for one deployment, not for two, but for three. What kept you going during this time?
Honestly, the first deployment, hatred kept me going.
Oh, okay. That's
it's what drove me. I mean, honestly, vengeance. We're going to get you back. That was my attitude. That didn't last too long, though. And what kept me going beyond that was just, my faith in God, my desire to come home and see my family again. And then some days just a fatalistic acceptance. Just, okay, here's another day. Time to go do what we got to do. And hopefully, another day will be gone and we'll be that much closer to getting home.
All right, I'm going to go completely off script here, Mr. Sharp. Completely off script, which is my trademark, okay? All right, here we go. Now you're a veteran. Here you are after seeing carnage, after shooting people, breaking things, bombing things, helping people, but experiencing the whole war thing. You are back in the United States, and you are raising a family. Here we are now at the precipice of some very perilous times, obviously. I think you can agree with me on that, can't you?
Oh, it's a pretty dark world out there.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, flat out right now. You took an oath to uphold the Constitution when you joined the Army, and that, of course, is that has no expiration date. Now, with all of the stuff that's going on right now, as a soldier, let me ask you first, or about you first. If there was problems here in the United States of America, and your commanding officer or your country or your they called you up and said, look, you've got to fight to protect the homeland against these overzealous patriot, gun holding, Bible holding people that are gonna that are trying to overthrow our tyrannical, in parentheses, government. Would you respond to that call?
Gee, I don't know.
Wow.
I did retire. I retired this year recently, and a lot of my life's paradigms have drastically changed.
Okay.
These past couple of years of my life, and to fight for one thing or another within this country.
I guess what I'm asking is this: Are you an oath keeper? Would you turn your guns on American citizens as a soldier?
Oh, I'm definitely not a fan of such practices. No.
Well, not being a fan is an easy way. Isn't that an easy way out, Mr. Sharp? Tell me.
I wouldn't be shooting at civilians.
All right.
I mean, I wouldn't. In Iraq, I didn't shoot at Iraqi civilians either.
Right.
You hold your rounds until there's probable cause to do so.
Well, I mean, one can make an argument that if you've got people marching on Washington because of an oppressive, tyrannical, out-of-control government, that, hey, you as a soldier, might be called to turn your weapons on American citizens who are trying to overcome this oppression. I guess I'm just trying to find out if you would, if you, where your mindset is. Would you turn your gun on American citizens who are attempting to free themselves from oppression? That's kind of my question. I was just kind of curious on that. Because go ahead.
I don't think I would turn my guns on somebody like that, no.
All right.
I don't foresee me firing at a group of civilians, for one political reason or another.
Again, going off script here, because I'm a big off script person. What's the mentality in the Army, in the military? I shouldn't say Army, of the military. Are most people... are they like you, where they're saying, wait a minute, if I got an order like that to disarm the public on the streets of America, or even to go after the American people for whatever reason, as I described, what's the mentality of the average military individual that you've come in contact with? Would they have that mindset or no?
I guess you would. It's kind of like a civilian. Statistics the same. You have some who will and some who won't. I think it carries over into the ranks. I mean, an army is still a reflection of its society, and you're not. You'll have your zealous soldiers who would do whatever. And, you know, in that circumstance, you'll have soldiers who probably won't do it.
Well, okay.
I mean, it's not a yes or no answer, I know, but, I mean, not every soldier thinks the same.
Interesting.
And not every soldier does exactly the same thing. You know, we're an individual wearing the uniform. You know, we take our orders, we do our job, but at the end of the day, I'm still Philip Sharp, and, you know, you're still Mr. Smith, and so on. We're not like this brainwashed one thinking machine.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fair because, you know, we hear these stories. Okay. We hear these accounts where, hey, the military could be turned against us. And, you know, I've heard people say, oh, definitely not. And I hear other people saying, well, you know, no, you know, that's perhaps. And we saw what happened during Katrina. Obviously, you know, that's something totally different. But, again, we're trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, on page 42 of your book, You're right. Taking someone away from their family is never an enjoyable event. The screaming and crying really gets to you. This wouldn't be the last time. I often wondered how soldiers could just cart people off in past events despite the misery they were obviously causing. Now I understand. It is amazing what years of conditioned obedience can do.
Conditioned obedience.
I know how most of us there did not enjoy that scene one bit, yet we carried out our orders. The horrid cries of the women and children would not stop. I know for myself, I was happy when we returned and I didn't have to hear the screaming anymore.
Oh, you're going to have to explain that paragraph.
Yeah, and this isn't against you, Mr. Sharp. This is just in general. I mean, was there a lot of misconduct by soldiers there? Or were there a lot of orders given that were carried out that were questionable to begin with?
In my opinion, there were a lot of orders that were questionable. As far as misconduct, I didn't see a lot of criminal misconduct, if that's what you're asking.
But civil misconduct you did?
Well, in this particular instance, we was arrested someone who was suspected of working with the cells that were operating in the area, and he was being brought in for questioning. And but that, you know, even still, that was the result of apprehending this guy. It just turned the entire household upside down. Okay,
Mr. Sharp, I got to tell you something. Reading that paragraph, and again, folks, listeners, and again, you know, this is, listen to this paragraph. Taking someone away from their family is never an enjoyable event. The screaming and crying really gets to you. This wouldn't be the last time. I often wonder how soldiers could just cart off people in past events. Okay, but you took part of that, right? You took part in that.
Yes.
Okay. How is it? And I suppose you were obviously you were under orders and you had a choice. You either take part in it or you get, you know, sent up for disobeying orders. But didn't at some point during that time, didn't you say, wait a minute, what am I doing here? Or why am I doing this? Or were these truly bad guys? Were these truly the people that were the people they were going after? Were these truly bad guys, or were they just suspects?
Some were bad guys. A lot of them were suspects, and part of the way of finding out was to bring them in, question them, check stories with other suspects and other intelligence that we had to see what lined up and what didn't line up. This particular case, the story, in context with what you mentioned there, I knew it had to be done at that point because he was suspected of it being a bomb-making cell.
Okay.
And so we wanted to get him. You know, I just really did not enjoy, you know, the scenario with his family and the screaming and the crying and the yelling. It was just horrible. I mean, it just continues. You know.
Yeah.
But there are, to answer your question, there were times where I was like, why am I doing this? You know, what in the world are we doing here? Why are we, you know, why is this going on like this? This is ridiculous. You know, absolutely.
And just a quick question back on that suspect, just so I can get some clarification. You said he was suspected of making bombs. What kind of standard operating procedure did you guys go by for evidence? Were there certain I don't know.
Well, what was the criteria?
Goals, yeah.
What was the criteria? Yeah, I mean, was it a senior officer saying, "Look, we think this guy is creating an IED, so go get him, go pick him up," or was it? I mean, were you afforded, or were you allowed to see the evidence, or I mean, and I know that's kind of a choppy question, but I mean,
well, sometimes we were told the evidence or what was suspected of a certain person and why.
Okay.
Sometimes it was you were called up that second, just go grab them, no time to explain kind of thing. It went back and forth. As far as like the standard procedures, we didn't just go apprehend, he looks like a bomb maker and grab him. I mean, it was based on an informant's testimony, or a prisoner that got taken somewhere else might have mentioned this guy. And so now we got to go bring him in and question him and compare his stories, with the different prisoners.
Right.
And, try to, through all the different testimonies, you try to shake down, okay, what's making sense, what doesn't make sense. Kind of like what a police officer does in an investigation.
But the police, okay, but understand, and again, with all due respect, because I believe our soldiers are the finest, and I believe that the soldiers are brave, and I believe that our soldiers do have the best interests of our country at heart. But that said, in the larger scheme of things, taking a few steps back, you have to realize you're in someone else's country, and sure, you're liberating them from oppression, or are you? But you're on their home turf, so to speak. So I'm trying to think. Okay, if here I am, I'm just a normal guy, and all of a sudden I got, and we'll say our government goes rogue. We have a tyrannical government, and for whatever reason, our military is siding with the guy, the rogue government, and or maybe not. I don't know. But here comes. Here comes a contingent of NATO troops into our country. And, man, at that point, we're occupied. And again, I'm going off script. Folks, I'm going off script. But we're occupied now. Now I'm thinking, who's the bad guy? Well, I'm looking at the guys that are trying to save us, in quotation marks, and saying, man, they're the bad guys. Because they're really, they've long overstayed their welcome. They've, and now instead of helping us, they're actually separating me from my family because they're saying I'm making a bomb, or when I'm not, or you see what I mean? Yeah, and again, I'm talking kind of in the larger picture sense here. Did you feel like at any point in time, hey, maybe I shouldn't be here? And that's
there's plenty of days I'm like, man, I shouldn't be here.
But I mean,
as far as the scenario you gave though, with the troops occupying your country, I've made reference to that in my journal a few times. I think,
okay,
as well as in the book itself. And I understand the parallel, because I often wondered, if we did this stuff, if foreign troops did these things in our country, how would we take it? We probably wouldn't take it too well, and there'd be a lot of heartache over it. Probably some violence.
Right. Yeah. And I'm certainly glad you made that distinctive parallel, or recognize that parallel. Now, one thing that got me, and this is kind of a redeeming quality, because I looked at this, I thought, now wait a minute, here's a guy. But anyway, you're donating all the profits from your book, your royalties, to charities, especially the ones who are working with the, I'll say, wounded warriors. Is that right?
Veterans organization.
Veterans organization. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes,
why are you doing that? Why? Why not take the profits and run? Because
I didn't want to. It's not. To me, it wasn't just another story in a book to write. It wasn't just my story. It was a lot of people's stories. It was me and my brothers over there. It was the people we were amongst. And that story was bought and paid for in blood and tears and heartache, and some of them are still dealing with the issue. And I did not feel I should be taking, stuff and money in my pocket from the royalties because of, a story that it wasn't just mine. It was all ours.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, and that's a good thing. I mean, I look at that as a good thing. All right. Now, look, let me ask you, again, let me go off script one more time before I turn it over to Joe here. And folks, a lot of times, guests, and this is just for the interest of, or for the for disclosure, a lot of times guests will send in questions, recommended questions. I get that from like when I'm on Mancow and different places, or or they'll ask me for, hey, get up like 10 questions and send them to me, and so that's done here, which is good. But so when I say going off script, I mean literally off script. But let me ask you this: what do you see taking place, Mr. Sharp? I mean, look, you're a military veteran. You're very well versed in. I mean, you're a combat man. You're the guy. I mean, you are the guy that's on the posters for military guys. I mean, you're a man's military man. What do you see taking place with our military right now? What's going on? What, in the larger sense with our military
and the leadership.
Yes, thank you.
Let's see. As I was leaving, at least in my circles, and it seemed pretty prevalent throughout that morale's pretty low.
Right.
A lot of good soldiers have either been put out or have left out of frustration, and a lot of leaders are getting promoted pretty quickly. There really doesn't seem to be a concern if leaders are proficient in leading. There's no concern if our soldiers can operate their equipment. Well, I can't say there's no concern, but there doesn't seem to be an overemphasis in making it happen. Everything else is a priority. How you look, what you say, how we appear to the public, that matters more than combat skills or the use of your equipment or your weapons, or the methods we use to combat our enemy. Seems to be second place to political considerations or how we view that.
That's it. So, are you guys? Do you feel like our military is being used currently as cannon fodder, basically, in a sense? Because I've been getting reports from people right now in Afghanistan. They're being sent out. First of all, the public line is this: there are no patrols going out in hot areas in Afghanistan. The public reports, and that's, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm getting reports from people with family members in Afghanistan saying, "Hey, they're sending my grandson out, on patrols. They're giving him 210 rounds of ammunition, and restrictive rules of engagement, and basically they're setting him up to fail." They're setting them up to be cannon fodder. Did you see that in Iraq? Or did you see that at all?
There's many times I thought we were being treated like cannon fodder, and it was sad to see that my young soldiers had a grasp of an understanding of tactics or just how we should do things, and they couldn't understand why certain things were going on, and we'd get hurt over and over again doing the same stupid things, and it's like no one was getting it.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know if you're familiar with this quote. Henry Kissinger, very close to the Bush administration, stated that military men are, I think it was dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns for foreign policy. Have you heard that quote before?
I haven't heard that quote, but I'm pretty sure some people feel that way.
Well, okay. Yeah, this is something I got to ask. Where do you see us? Look, you've been on the inside of the military. Where are we going next, my friend? What country? Who's next on the military chopping block of the United States?
I hope we're done right now, but who knows? I mean, for a time there, I thought maybe we'd get drawn into Libya. Maybe you'd be Syria. Who knows, really? I mean,
okay.
There's no tell.
Yeah, I know. Now, look, I know we went off script on the book, but Joe, go ahead.
No, you were going back to it.
Well, yeah, I want to get back to the book. Tell us again. You wrote a book again, folks. The name of this book is Not in the Wind, Earthquake, or Fire. What's the significance of that title, first of all?
The title it's on the story of Elijah in the Old Testament, where he was hiding in a cave, and all these people were looking for him to kill him, and he was hiding from him in the cave, and he's crying out to God, God, why is this happening? What is going on? All this stuff's going around me. All is lost.
I got
all is despair. And then he heard to go up on the mountaintop to where he could hear from God. First, a mighty wind comes by, and he doesn't hear God in the wind. Then an earthquake shakes the mountain, but still he does not hear from God. And then fire falls down from the sky, but God was not in the fire. But after all the rattling, the shaking, and the blowing, the gentle whisper, he hears from God. And, he's comforted, he's told everything's fine, everything's as it should be, don't worry about it. And to me, that summed up that whole deployment of Iraq to me.
Wow.
I'm hiding in a cave, everything's around me is going crazy, people trying to kill you, there's all my own winds and earthquakes and fires going on, but right after all that, there's that gentle whisper, where you hear from God.
What message, if I can ask, did you receive from God at that point, aside from the fact that, what message did you receive? What was your message?
The message during the deployment?
Yeah, I mean, based on that, the Elijah, okay, the comparison with Elijah, okay, I sense that you were in that position, as you just explained. Did you? I mean, what spiritual message or message from God did you receive in your deployment, if any at all? I mean,
there's quite a few all throughout the book.
Okay.
Various incidences.
Pick one.
Overall, is that overall, despite all of our actions, what we try to prepare for or counter or square up against, you don't know where it's going. Everything is already laid out to go as it goes.
Interesting.
You can either be at comfort with where you stand with yourself and God, or not. And to me, the less comfort you are with Him, the more distracted and irritated you are by the world, and more fearful of it.
Interesting. Would you do it again? Would you? Wait a second. Yeah. Given what you know now, let me be fair with that question. Given what you know now, would you do it again? Would you
go back to Iraq?
Yeah. Would you go back to Iraq the first time, the second time, the third time? Would you do it all over again?
I really don't know how to answer that question.
Tough questions, aren't they?
I wouldn't be who I am without it, and I wouldn't have met some people otherwise. I wouldn't have written this book otherwise.
Well, that's true.
But then again, I would have missed. I could have missed these turmoils, and I would have had just as plenty here probably to deal with. That would have been just as traumatic to me. There's no telling.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading the entire book. When's it coming out? Or is it already out? Because I'm looking here. I think you've got a pending publication date, right? When's this book coming out?
Well, actually, it's been out since the end of July. It's been out about 2.5 months. It's available now.
Color me embarrassed. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
That's okay. So it's been out since the end of July, and it's off of your website, windearthquakefire.com. But I gotta go back to something here because of your military knowledge and because of the fact that you're a warrior. You're a man that has seen combat, seen bloodshed, been with the military, been with your people that and understands the ranking and the whole separation between the flag corps and the grunts and all of this. But I guess my bottom line question is this. Where are we headed as a nation here? I mean, from a military point of view, has our military been corrupted because of its leadership? I mean, I got like 100 questions built into that, but the military leadership, has it been corrupted?
I believe there's a lot of rust on it, and
a lot of
warrior mentality, the Army's
rust is a passive
the
action.
purpose of an Army's existence has been lost on the Army period. We've become something totally contrary to our purpose of existence.
But yeah, I agree.
But being rusty is one thing. That's passive, but the corruption.
Well, I say rusty because we still have a lot of good soldiers. We have some really great people out there who can bring the fight anywhere, who could do whatever for this nation.
Okay.
And they're still in service, but the organization, the system, the way things is constructed, it limits their potential. That if it was just open, we could really have a great military because of the people, but I think the structure really needs good shaking.
You hit that one right, I got to tell you. I believe you on that. I mean, I'm with you there.
And just to clarify something, who is this book written for? Is this for soldiers who are in combat or going to combat, who have been through combat? Is it for civilians not in the military to understand what was going on? Was it for you to get it out there?
I mean, I know it was obviously cathartic for you to write this, wasn't it? Because it would be to me.
Oh yeah, pretty much. Yes, it was. It was a rough affair to write it again. It took me a long time to do it. As far as who it's to, I wanted to write a book for anyone who wanted to read about the Iraq War and not get a journalist who's been there for 2 weeks perception,
okay.
Or some guy who's never left the country's perception, or some political party's perception, or just if you wanted to know what your ground combat soldiers did in Iraq, I wanted them to see firsthand, what it was. No whitewashing. This is the event right here. This is it. It's also, but I did write it from the mentality of a soldier, so I'm pretty sure, and I throw in, tactical lessons or, my takes on certain parts of leadership that I'm sure, current serving, combat soldiers would look at and understand it in depth, probably more so than a civilian would.
Interesting. Well, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. You've given us kind of an interesting take from a soldier's point of view, from a military man's point of view. And I know that I've asked you some really tough questions because it's stuff that's on our mind. We're looking at how things are going, Phil. And I got to tell you something. My heart is very unsettled over the way I see things going. And before, because we're coming at the end of the program, but let me ask you something here. We're hearing about troop movements and about movements of military assets all across the country. Do you think, sir, do you think, based on your experience, that the military, I mean, the politicians, the powers that are preparing to, martial law type situation, or preparing to respond to some sort of internal conflict here in this country? Are you seeing that? Are you hearing that? Do you have any reason to believe that?
I haven't seen or heard anything like that. I can't really say that there's that type of preparation going on. But I would say that if it were going on, that's not the sort of thing you would tell the soldiers you're about to use to do it either. So.
Yeah, I don't think they'd send you a card saying, "Hey, Phil."
Yeah,
Phil,
they wouldn't spell out the plan and say,
"Hey,
let Mama know you're not going to be home for a while." So,
All right. Well,
so, I mean, I don't know. I can't confirm anything for you with what I know.
All right, my friend. Well, I'll tell you what. You've been a good sport. It's interesting. I'm looking forward. I'm going to grab a copy of the book, Not in the Wind, Earthquake, or Fire, because I want to see what you wrote. I want to really get into it, because I've got parts of it here, but I want to get into it, and I want to see what your take is. And Joe, you and I are going to be doing some reading here about this.
Yeah, he's sent us the book, and thank you for that.
Oh, yes,
Mr.
yes,
Sharp.
I'm sorry, yeah.
And we are going to read it, and
in fact, I thought that was a review copy. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. Okay.
In our closing minutes here, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a great Christian audience. We've got a massive audience, and you get the next minute. You get the next
minute. All right.
You get the floor. You got the floor.
All right. Well, for if for your Christian audience, a lot of us probably feel disheartened by the things of this world and the things that are happening, but don't be surprised by it. You were warned about it from when Jesus walked the earth. This earth is going to pass away, and there's no point worrying about these day-to-day things because your trust and your faith and hope is in Christ, and that's all you need to worry about.
Wow. Well said.
Absolutely.
And I have to tell you, you're not going to get any argument from us. That's for sure.
Oh, finally. Okay.
Wait! Before you cut, hey, you didn't feel I was antagonistic to you, did you? No. I mean, seriously, none of the questions were meant to be antagonistic because.
Well, you try talking with a bunch of soldiers and see what antagonism is.
Oh man, no. Let me tell you something. I never had the honor, and I would say it's an honor. It would be an honor to serve in the military, but then it would be also a nightmare to serve in combat. That's the way I look at it, and I can only imagine the things you've seen. Before we cut you loose, post-traumatic stress syndrome. You got it? Do you have it? PTSD?
I don't think I have it. No, I don't believe I do.
Have you been asked? Have people called you and asked you to come in and talk to somebody about the possibility of you having it without your knowledge?
Yeah,
because they are promoting post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Oh wow! No, I've never been. I wouldn't entertain such a thought if they did anyway. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a push that they are doing this to take away the guns of the veterans. There is just a huge attack on veterans right now, and it is ramping up. So if you do hear from some psychologists calling you, wanting to talk to you about that,
seriously, because we've been hearing about different veterans saying,
"Oh wow,
look, affected by PTSD, basically turning in your guns." I mean, now that's there's a lot of real estate between the first and the second sentence, but nonetheless, you get the idea. So be on the watch for that. But look, I've thoroughly enjoyed the time that we had together, and I'll tell you what, folks listening to this, visit the website. windearthquakefire.com. Check out his book. Check out the book. I really, I so appreciate you spending your time with us and sharing what you did and your honesty and humoring me when I went off script. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. God bless you, my friend. Great to have you, man.
Yeah, all right. And I hope you sell a lot of books and give money to
and you're speaking with a
charities.
True hero, really, a true American hero in terms of, I mean, look.
90 seconds.
You should know this guy has seen the worst of the worst of the worst.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there you have it, folks. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. It's been a wonderful 3 hours with you folks.
We want to thank our guest, Philip Sharp.
Yes.
And people listen to this in the archive.
What a great guy, and not
in the wind, earthquake, or fire at windearthquakefire.com.
60 seconds.
And tomorrow, join us back here at regular time,
8:00,
and hopefully we'll have our video.
I think we will. And folks, you know what? I think we have our audio problems resolved, which is great.
Amen.
And if I can just close, of course, just remember the verse from Jeremiah about watchmen. You know, we're all leaders, we're all watchmen. Let's serve in that purpose. Let's serve in that with honor, integrity, and let's help others. Let's help each other out. And, let's never forget who's in charge. It's God. Good night, everyone.
using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
That was a weird interview.
The guy was much more upbeat and outspoken than that.
Yeah, sometimes you just can't tell, you know.
And when I read his stuff, it all seemed good, you know. He's talking about, when I read this, I was like, all right, we're definitely going to have him on, because I was like, he's a Christian, and I figured he would really get into things, but I have a feeling he doesn't even know what the NDAA is.
I was afraid to go there.
I was going to ask him.
I was really afraid.
Once he answered that question, I was like, I haven't heard anything about that, or, well, you've been...
overall, look, I think it was a great show. I really think.
Oh, yeah, it was really good.
I think it worked out well, I think.
It was really good. I thought it was an awesome show.
And I think we had a good time. I think people respect us.
Yeah. No. It was a really good show. The first hour was great. We need to do that more often. We need to have spiritual shows or hours or whatever. But we need to keep it as spiritual as possible. And I thought the opening you did was awesome. And if we can just duplicate that every night.
Okay, would you say the first hour was spiritual, or would you say the first hour was factual?
Both. Both.
I said, hey, thanks for being with us tonight, and everyone said, thanks, Joe, thanks, Joe, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, sometimes I see that too, where people will say, I'll say something, and they'll be like, that's not it. No, Doug, you're wrong. Or I can tell when it's me they're trying to talk to, but whatever.
Well.
If you want, go to here and schedule episode. I'll plug the fridge back in. Well, actually, Renee said leave it unplugged because she wanted to defrost it.
Yeah, it's got... You can't even stick your finger in the freezer.
No. Oh, go to archive. 1600 or 1167. Now go. Look at this. Scroll down to anywhere in June, in July. Look at our lat list.
Quail, right?
Yeah. And now look at the last month or couple weeks or whatever.
Wow, 5,200 there. I never did that before.
See, it went from like 600, 700 to 1,000, pretty much. That 400 one was it Sunday, Steve?
Yeah. 16, so that was yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, that was probably the most listens we ever had without a guest. We got to get Pastor Begley back on the show because...
No, wait a second. Speaking of him. Whoa, speaking of him.
Did you see that video?
Yeah, what the hell is going on with him?
I don't know.
He screwed up, man.
What he did?
Okay, he was... Okay.
I saw the video on the article.
Okay. Did you watch it?
Yeah. What did he say? Well, I know he wrote about it in his book, but I mean, what did he say that?
I ordered his book, by the way.
Did you see that? No.
He sent an email saying, "Thank you, Doug and Joe, for ordering my book for your love gift of $25." I figured $25.
I told that Angie, I was talking to her about it, and she said she thought it was real weird, especially that he didn't even call us to talk to us about it.
Okay, what he did, he before it's news, he walked. Okay, remember you showed me the article in Before It's News?
Yeah.
About us?
Yeah.
Which was wrong.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Okay.
He didn't get into the...
But he said, Doug and Joe Hagmann said this, referencing the article, which, and he spun it as a good thing. Like we were doing good. It's strange. It was like,
right.
What the hell's he doing?
I don't know.
I mean, that was when I was out. I was like, well, I was watching it. I said, wait a minute.
It didn't make sense to me either. And it was just the whole video was weird.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was.
And then he wrote about that in his book.
He didn't write about that in his book.
The execution of Alex Jones, the actual execution of Alex Jones.
Oh, okay, wait. Yeah. But okay.
What I thought was weird was, first of all,
he wrote about the execution of Alex Jones in his book as being a fictional event.
Right.
But what he did, he took that fictional event, screwed it up, or saw it before it's news, and I don't think he read the article. Or if he did, he read it and didn't understand.
Got excited because he thought.
Yeah.
Because he saw what was.
Hagmann said this. Well, no, we didn't.
Okay, because I'll have to go back and watch it again because I don't remember him saying we said anything like that.
No, we didn't. But
I mean, I don't remember him saying that we said anything along the lines of Alex Jones getting executed or.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let me back up because I think I explained this wrong. He writes the book. It's a fictional account, and in it, it's got the execution of Alex Jones. Alex Jones being executed.
Right.
Taken away, executed. So he's, walking around, sees before it's news, reads it, doesn't get it because it's written so funky.
Yeah.
Okay? And then sees our name there, where we're saying something about Alex Jones, okay? And makes his video on a false premise, or a mistaken premise, not a false premise. Just check that out. Make sure that's all right.
Yeah, what? Is this for the shirts?
No, that's for their business cards.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think you should email the Alex Jones' producer or whatever, and say, hey, we saw that article on the Forest News, and a lot of people have been emailing us about it because I have a couple of questions why our names are in that to begin with, and I only could come up with a few reasons, and none of them were good.
We're good. Yeah, I can do that.
I mean, why out of all his guests? The only good reason I could think of is because we actually have our own show and a big audience.
Yeah.
But the other reason, I mean, I'm thinking, is that an indicator to somebody else, through the reference of Alex Jones, putting us like that down there in that article as us being some kind of a problem that needs to be handled, or I don't know. The few people that emailed me about it were Dog, got Larry Smith.
Okay.
Your internet constantly turns off on its own. Who's this? Our internet constantly turns on.
That's his problem. That's not ours. Okay, because if he's got to click the play on his, that's his problem. Now Renee's supposed to listen tonight to us. I'll have to check and see.
Everybody said sound was fantastic. Okay, taking off.
All right. Well,
I'll be here
I don't know. 2 o'clock, all right?
Will give us enough time to just flip things around a bit?